Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of the Overwatch World Cup 2017 live from BlizzCon. I'm Golden Boy, your host for this weekend, and what a weekend it has been so far. Games that just left you breathless from yesterday, but we are not done yet, as we have to crown a champion, and today we will do just that. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues here on the desk. We have the one and only Jamerson. How you feeling, buddy?
Doing fantastic. We had some great games. Like exhausted.
States game. If you haven't seen it yet, do yourself a favor. Go watch some quality Overwatch. That ended with a 4-2 score line. If you're wondering why, watch the game. You'll find out. That being said, though, our matches today, first match of the day, as a matter, would be Sweden versus Canada, and then France versus South Korea. Two very, very good matches that we have lined up here. I couldn't be more ecstatic for it. But as I said, the first matchup of the day will be Sweden facing off against Canada. And ZP, I gotta ask you a question here, buddy. This Swedish roster, they're looking pretty deadly.
Absolutely, and this is where experience is key. When you look at the Sweden core, you're looking at a bunch of veterans for Overwatch where they've been through the paces, they've played different heroes over time, and you saw that throughout the entire roster with flexing to this brand new meta. Key point, Cyan, who is really known for his Ana play, but used to play a lot of Mercy way back in the day, and brought those skills to bear in the quarterfinal yesterday, where his experience on Mercy was very key to Sweden able to come out over the top.
Yeah, and that, it's funny enough you mentioned Chips, because he says he's a Mercy main and actually walking out now. The Mercy main himself leading the charge for Sweden. It's Cyan. This roster, though, a lot of people aren't really, I guess they're kind of selling them short early on here, but now we're starting to see that even themselves they're very, very confident. Cyan, Zebasai, Manitin, Swoosh, Tivik, and the young gun himself, Snillo. James, any thoughts on this roster?
One of the scary things is that it was one of the quicker matches that we had yesterday, so we didn't get to see all the forms of Team Sweden here. There's so many things that they can still pull out of their back pocket that they can surprise us with. So I want to look forward to Canada just pushing them to the limit so we can see more of them.
Speaking of Canada, we might as well jump into that one. ZP brought up an interesting point about Chips' play on Mercy. Joe Meister not having the best of times on Mercy yesterday. You saw him get picked early on quite a few times. Is there some, uncomfortable gameplay that you're seeing there?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that we saw coming out from even Team South Korea. Ryu Jae-hong or Toby having to go over to that Mercy role himself. And it's a little bit of an uncomfortable shift, right? Primarily as Joe Meister, you've been playing Lucio for the better part of a year and a half now. And now you're moving over to Mercy, where it's a completely different dynamic. You're not as able to stay in the fights, but you're so fragile. You have to somehow keep yourself safe by using Guardian Angel instead of having more disengaged tools that Lucio normally has.
Yeah, and then the other thing, and we just saw him pop up on screen just a tad, was XQC actually having a pretty good event, CP.
Absolutely, and XQC, he's not only a great tank player, he's the emotional heart of this Canadian team, and also the front runner for the Teemo MVP, as far as we know.
Ain't that the truth? There they are, as Canada makes their way over to the stage. And now this roster, this is what's so interesting about this team is that you look at it and you see so many weapons. I mean, you have agilities, you have Surefour, right? You have one of the better supports despite his recent issues, in Joe Meister and also Rolf. But then the ones that really, the one player that pops out for me is Mangachu, because Mangachu came into this team as the off-tank player, having to play D.Va, and he kind of defaulted to a third DPS because he's so good as Pharah.
Yeah, the nice thing is that with this composition, with this roster, you can actually really rely upon Mangachu. You can build around him if you want to. They can go for, maybe if we go to King's Row, put him on a Hanzo and then put either Surefour or Agilities onto Zarya and really come up with a composition that's very easy to execute with. Yesterday, they relied heavily upon both Surefour and Agilities just to come up with clutch plays so they can continue on in most of these maps. So I want to see them just go back to basics and make it easy for their path to victory.
All right, well then in that case, so ZP, you're Sweden in this situation. You saw Canada play yesterday. Surely you have a game plan. What do you think that game plan is?
There's two parts of their game plan that I think they should execute on. One is that you target Joe Meister. Joe Meister is not comfortable on Mercy as far as we've seen. And if they put him on that hero, I think you isolate him. I think you put him under pressure and you go, can you get away from this? The second point is that you isolate XQC. XQC oftentimes is the emotional leader of the team. He's a guy getting them into it with calls. But more than that, if they're running a single tank setup with him because they're running Mangachu on the Pharah, if you take down XQC early on, Canada isn't going to be able to really exert any control over the fight. So I think if they target those two players, Sweden will have a lot of success here today.
But now you're Canada, you know that Sweden is going to look to target a player like XQC, make some mistakes, player like Mangachu. How do you then look to get the victory if you're Canada?
Well, that's also why I want to see them revert back to maybe a triple tank style, right? We got to see what XQC can do when there's a Diva in play to keep him a bit more safe on that Winston. He comes up huge. Go ahead and put a Zarya in there. Keep that, have someone on a Diva also. Just support him more and allow him to get into the backline, stay in the backline, and just destroy all the squishies on the side of Sweden.
All right, well, guys, I know it is early. Trust me, because I had to wake up at like 6 o'clock, so it's very early, but let's just have some fun with this. Let's make some noise. Let's watch some Overwatch. It's time to get into our first match of the day. It's going to be Sweden facing off against Canada. And let's send it over to your commentary duo, UberX.
From the frozen tundras in the north, it's both Canada and Sweden emerging, but there can only be one king, Matt, if anything from pop culture has taught us so far. How much have we really seen from Sweden, though? Because yesterday from them, it seemed like very much a straightforward affair.
Their match seemed really easy for them yesterday. I don't think we really learned a lot about this team. Obviously, Snillo coming in, taking Reinforce's spot. The team makes a little bit more sense now, like on paper, right? Because Swoosh, you know, he's the main tank. For Misfits, you have Manitin there as well, so they can keep that tank duo up front. Now you just slot Snillo in playing the Tracer. I think in this series, if you look at Canada, on their side, I think XQC has to be huge for them. I think when they go to that solo tank lineup, he really needs to just preserve his life as much as possible.
Right, and it's a very tough job right now in the way that the game's being played in the current meta in Overwatch. We spoke to XQC a couple days ago, and he said, honestly, I'm not really, you know, feeling this is the easiest way for me to play. I like to jump in, I like to get aggressive, I like to be accompanied by a dive, but now I'm kind of jumping in and then 180ing in midair and being forced to get back out of combat because I know if I hit the ground, I'm going to get blown up instantly.
Yeah, he's kind of using the jump to bait a little bit, like kind of diving in a little and then making that 180 and kind of going back towards his team, putting the bubble down and then playing a little bit defensive, kind of in and out of the bubble, trying to stay alive as long as possible on the Winston. I think with him in this series, I think we may see more tanks than just the Winston. I think we'll see the Orisa again. Thought he got good yesterday on Nepal. I think we'll see, obviously, Reinhardt as well.
Yeah, if we get to Junkertown, we've seen a lot of Orisa. Reinhardt's also been a pick there. We've actually seen, you know, Canada go for a Reinhardt and Orisa. We've seen Mangachu get involved in that one, playing that Orisa. So there's a lot of flexibility for this team. And when you think of Mangachu as a player, you don't often think of him as the second tank for this team because of how prolific his Pharah play has been so far. But if needs must, we have seen him on the Diva, and we have seen him on that Orisa.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the Diva by default for this team. You know, sure, he can play a very good Zarya. But then you lose what he brings you on DPS. I mean, he was actually phenomenal in the final 3 games of the Australia-Canada series yesterday. And I think he's going to need to go huge today because you have Tavik on the other side, one of the best players in the world.
Right, we can talk a little bit more about Sweden now. Yeah. You know, obviously, the young gun in Snillo. I mean, his father's here to watch him. And, you know, obviously, he's not just here to support his son. He's also his illegal guardian because he is underage. So, obviously, for him, this has been a huge coming of age, as it were, because his last LAN and his first LAN was the Contenders Finals in Burbank, and it was tough for him. He got to play one series. Now he gets a second shot, of course, not only with a great performance yesterday, there was a stat that came up after the first game. It was like Snillo had 1,400 damage from pulse bombs in the first map, whereas Mike A was only able to get about 200. So
he was great yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, and that stat might not tell you the whole story, but it definitely says that he was getting more pulse bombs or using them at least more effectively. That's a big statement for such a young player.
And I think a lot of people were worried as a young player. Maybe he just won't show up with the crowd and everybody getting excited, hyped for these matches. You're worried, how is he going to handle that pressure? And he played quite well yesterday.
Nepal is going to be coming up first here. It's a map where we have seen Orisa on before, especially Sanctum. An opportunity there, obviously, to try and move your opponents around the map. Use that halt ability to get them into the pit. So that's definitely something we're going to be looking at in detail. we don't know too much about whether Sweden are going to go for that. We know that Manhattan loves playing that Roadhog, much the same way that when we saw Smex pick it up yesterday. ZP said Smex is one of the most prolific Roadhogs around the world. Manhattan is an incredible flex tank. Expect to see him, go the Roadhog, maybe even Orisa, mix that stuff in.
Well, if Roadhog comes into play, you love it for Canada as well, because Agilities can play a very good Roadhog. That takes the pressure off of Mangachu having to play the second tank, because now he could play something like a Pharah, like a Junkrat, and you can have XQC play something like the Rhine or the Orisa. So makes a lot of sense for Canada as well.
Looking at our initial lineups here, you can see that Junkrat's definitely going to be a contested pick here between these two. Tvik has shown us what he can do on that pick yesterday, and we do know that Canada's Mangachu is that Swiss Army knife of this team. It's a term we use so often, Matt, especially in Overwatch, but Mangachu embodies what a flex player has to do. So in the words of XQC, Pog Champagne, my doggies, let's get it on Overwatch Arena, make some noise as we kick off our first semi-final here. Sweden in the blue, Canada in the white.
We'll see who can get the opening pickoffs here. You're really looking at the Junkrat players put a lot of damage down. The benefit for Canada, they have the shield of the Orisa. For Sweden, all you have is that Winston bubble to protect you from those Junkrat grenades coming on in.
You can see that Manhattan's just trying to brave most of this damage to come through. That shield drops and Zebasai finds a pick almost instantly, but the reses, of course, are forthcoming. Both Junkrats are put back on their feet. That extra damage is going to be required for both of these teams in this war of attrition. Manhattan tries to pull Agilities off the edge, but he just settles for picking him off with the scrap gun regardless.
Yeah, and you have all that extra damage that's coming in from Surefour on the 76. It's going to allow for Canada to take the point. Now, right there, you're relying on Snilla to get to the back lines, get a pick off. As long as Canada stayed alive, it was going to allow Surefour, once both Junkrats were out of the equation and the Winston was out of the equation, for Sweden to just lay down a ton of damage on the 76.
Yeah. Big play from him on the backside of the fight. We were watching Manhattan at the time, but Surefour in the background, obviously doing a heck of a lot of work on that Soldier 76. And that's a pick that really pressures a Junkrat down in this particular matchup. It's hard for Junkrat to really deal with 76 at length, especially if he's got him lined up. The Helix rocket for extra damage. Speaking of extra damage, though, the Riptide from Mangachu here sends it up on high. Again, a bit of a scouting attempt, perhaps even to zone somewhat. It's unlikely you better get too close. He doesn't quite get the pick up, but that's a heck of a lot of damage on towards Manhattan. He quickly takes a breather. He's back to full, but now Mangachu is ready to fight normally. Some direct fire through from him, but a transcendence for Sweden now just to keep them topped up. It's going to be responded on the side of Canada.
Yeah, Sweden's going to use both of their support ults here. Tvik now has his Riptire. He's going to call it in, see if he's able to get anybody with it. It'll be Sweden taking the point from Canada. Canada still in this fight, though. You're going to get your tank back into the equation. Once the Riptire goes off, Manhattan trying to stay alive here on the point. Joe Meister with the Mercy Res is coming on through.
Yeah, quickly jumps in, opts not to heal up Mangachu in favor of getting that res on towards Agilities, and it seems to have done the job. He gets the hook on towards Chips, so that Mercy presence will be nullified in this fight for Sweden. Again, sometimes it comes down to whose Mercy is still alive. Regardless of that Resurrect cooldown, the healing is still so impactful. You can see the final stages of Joe Meister's Valkyrie timing out now. He, of course, used it to turn that fight on a dime.
Yeah, and Mangachu is going to get very close to another Riptire here for Canada. You're going to have Rolf build up towards that Transcendence, and you have XQC with his ultimate. So once you see the fight start, that Orisa ult's going to be huge as Mangachu gets one. Trying to just locate Snillo here. He's going to force him to recall it. You see Agility's getting better, and he's going to recall right into the trap. Now it's going to be the tire coming out from Mangachu again.
Try some parkour here as well. The walls, that's a beautiful Riptire. Zebasai and Chips, they thought they were safe in the back line, but you can't run, you can't hide. It's Mangachu's wild ride.
He is so sick on the heroes, like the Junkrat, like the Pharah. You see Canada, they push all on through into the choke. They have the Transcendence, going to be able to sustain on through this. And Mangachu has had a fantastic first point as Canada will take it.
The gauntlet is slowly removed and slapped across the face of Sweden, and Canada have made a statement to open this one up. That Orisa, the Junkrat presence there. Roadhog obviously was an endangered species across that map. Both Agilities and Manhattan were scrabbling to try and keep themselves up, but again, the judicious use of those Riptides, especially from the Canadian side, helped them get the edge in a lot of those fights. But I dare say, Matt, as we head on towards our next stage, we'll see a change up in composition.
Yeah, and I think when you look at just some of the numbers here coming out of our first point, Mangachu for Canada was huge, right? 28% of the overall team damage coming from Mangachu. On the other side, you're looking at Snillo on the Tracer, right? Really able to burst players down, only 11% of the team damage. So not really doing much in terms of limbs and final blows as well. So they did a good job of, whether it was Mangachu, Agilities on the Roadhog, and then Surefour on the 76, really preventing Snillo to do a lot of damage.
We'll be heading in just a few moments here. Looks like the map will be Shrine. See the players already tapping away. I'm surprised that keyboard doesn't distract Shawful, but I guess he's probably used to it with all the screaming fans in the background. Trying to go for that salt and pepper look a little bit early on in life for that one, but still makes it work. Maybe a future Clooney, but now we're going to be in a shrine here. And again, it's going to be Sweden taking most of the damage early on. They've already forced that res.
And it's going to be Canada taking the point here as Joe Meister's going to bring agilities back into the fight. And one thing, I was kind of wondering coming into this series is, primarily when we've seen Swoosh play tank, right now the main tank for Misfits playing tank here for Team Sweden, we've seen him exclusively on the Winston. We were wondering during contenders, will he bring out the Rhine? They pretty much ran dive all the way through contenders. And here we've seen him pretty much stay on this Winston, and I think Canada's doing a decent job exploiting that.
Is Ryan in his wheelhouse? It's a big question. Maybe not one to see answered on this map, but perhaps later in the series. This is Rook, by the way, goes in, gets 2 kills in the back of that fight. Zebasai didn't know what hit him there. Definitely no balls to the wall in that case. Those were connecting with their targets perfectly now. Canada have a chance to set up here again. It's a shield, and it's going to be a trap there, so making sure it's going to be very costly for Sweden to get up close to them. Rez is already out at the start of the fight. Snillo and Shawful are put back on their feet. Transcendence from Rolf now as he tries to join the rest of his team to keep them healed up. Chips, that's not a position you want to be in. What a combo as well. The Holt pulling Sweden together, and Magnitude throwing in the mine just to blow them right on up.
Yeah, it'll be both support ults coming out from Canada.
Oh, behave, Magnitude! Behave!
Canada's feeling themselves, and you talked a little bit about XQC being the emotional leader for this team. When they get that reverse sweep yesterday, those guys were so hyped up, ready for this match against Sweden. And I think coming out of this first map, if they're able to take it, it's going to be a big win for Canada as they move on.
So you can see the flanking play being set up here for Sweden. Snillo's going to go all the way back around. Vic wants to try and get around these shields to get a good tack visor off. Shawful now realizes that's happening, but it's too late. He couldn't respond. Magnitude and Shawful go down. Joe as well, that 3 for Vic on that tactical visor. XQC desperately tries to put a shield down amidst the chaos, but it's not enough to protect his team, and he's just going to take a long walk off the short ledge and be done with it for this time.
Coming into the next fight, though, Canada will have a Rip Tire, and they'll have their tack visor. We can take a look. The tack visor from Tvik gets up to the high ground, gets behind enemy lines, has free reign on the players of Canada.
What do you do? That shield, I mean,
Nothing
it's not,
you can do.
It's unidirectional, that's the thing. It's not a Winston bubble. So Orissa's shield only gives you protection, obviously, from that side. You need to be very careful with the way you place it. It's hard to do with flanks. Speaking of which, there might just be another one. The Rip Tire is being sent forward. The explosive envoy from Canada doesn't quite find his mark. Not exactly the diplomacy he was looking for. And now, Canada will make their way up around that left side. Again, the Holt pulls everyone in, and he gets that remote mine. Nice kills from Shawful now going for that tactical visor. Look at that accuracy, Mac.
I think if you're Canada, if you get Chips to use the Valkyrie, so there's Chips using the Valkyrie, he's going to bring Snillo and Zebasai back into the fight. If you win this for Canada, it's great. They're going to actually use their Transcendence. They're going to invest that because Joe Meister is so close to his own Valkyrie. You bring 2 more players back into the fight if need be, and then you're already at 88% if you're Canada. You close this one out.
Agility's with the whole hog. He's going to use it now. You can see him in the wireframe off towards the right-hand side. He dealt with Tvik, and looks like he's happy enough with just the 1 kill. Agility's is feeling it, and so are we. The hook doesn't quite connect, but he's a big presence on the point. Big, meaty presence, in fact. Doesn't want to go for the heal just yet. Now the self-destruct placed down in front of him. The res is coming through thick and fast. Joe Meister manages to get up his support and his Junkrat player, but Agility's has got so much space to do work here. If you leave him unchecked, he's going to tear you to shreds, and now we're going to be in overtime here. Sweden nowhere to be seen over on the point here, and Canada plant the flag. The Maple Leafs start strong.
Sharp towards the end of the last night, he was starting to heat up, he was starting to play well. He shows up in a big way for Canada. In the first map, they get themselves a win. I think, though, you look at Canada, and when they can have Mangachu run something like a Pharah or a Junkrat, and then you put Agilities on the Roadhog, and you have XQC take up the Orisa or the Winston, they look very scary.
I mean, Tvik's doing, 40% of his team's hero damage right now. Huge play from him, but so far it's not enough. Canada are looking very, very good. Quick break, ladies and gentlemen. Catch your breath. On the other side of this break, we'll have map number 2.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
From being very slow starters in the series yesterday against Australia, Canada looked to be carrying the momentum through from day one. The first map been a big success for them, especially when they struggled on this one previously yesterday. Sweden now look to be the ponderous ones, the ones that are taking a little bit of a while to get into gear. Kings Row, Matt, will be the second map, and let's hope this is where they make it a series.
Yeah, but Sweden needs to get back and playing well, because this is a Canada team like we talked about, where if they start to heat up, they are very emotional guys. They can really spiral this series in their favor, find themselves in the gold medal match.
One step away. It's crazy, right? This side of the bracket's been very interesting. Obviously, neither of these two teams have had to deal with the juggernaut and the titan that is South Korea, but there's been a huge amount of competition here regardless. And I mean, Sweden dealt with Australia back in Sydney. They know what it's like. It was a tough road for them. Sweden had a bit of a cruisier run themselves. Obviously, that 3-0 against UK looked definitive. But they're not looking like the same team right now, and they need to rediscover the element that got them through that first match so comfortably yesterday. Let's look at the defensive lineups here, Matt, for Canada.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit during the break when we saw Kings Row come up, and I was kind of thinking this is another map where you could see Canada run Mangachu on the Junkrat, Agility's on the Roadhog, and then XQC on the Orisa. And I think, look, Agility's a fantastic Roadhog. It kind of alleviates, maybe Mangachu on the Diva, not really something that he's comfortable on. They're able to play the Junkrat as well. It'll be Rolf getting an early first pick onto Vic. Now you're going to be forced to use your res. So it's a good start here for Canada.
Notice that the Holt pulled Swoosh out of position on that Reinhardt. That left Vic open to being taken down, and Brook managed to find him in the absence of that Reinhardt shield. A quick and hasty res being drawn out of chips there, and Sweden are still running with 6, but their Mercy's a little bit low on HP. Manhattan is well charged though. A lot of damage potential here for Sweden coming forward. Now the res being drawn out of Joe Meister as Vic gets that kill on Mangachu. Pressure is mounting, and Sweden are approaching.
Yeah, and that's the downside of the Orisa versus Reinhardt, right? Because you see the barrier that Manhattan's just able to shoot around it. It's going to be one tick here for Sweden, putting down a ton of damage here. It's going to be Manhattan doing a lot of nice work on this Zarya. It's Sure4 up top, just trying to put down damage here for Canada. But Sweden getting very close to taking point A. It'll be a contest that comes in from XQC.
3 ticks.
He will fall. And that is going to be a first push pretty much for Sweden, able to take point A.
So I love actually the way this game's playing out. It feels like the old triple tank Overwatch, which is something that the Swedes were very proficient at. It's slow, you move up, it's a war of attrition. Your Roadhog play is designed to try and strip shields away, as is the Junkrat on Sweden. Get more damage done, burst the enemy and push them back, take position. Notice that Sweden had 2 ticks, while most of Canada were actually still standing. Canada had to give ground, and Sweden used that to incrementally gain position and positional advantage.
Yeah, there's nothing Sure4 can do when he's on the high ground behind enemy lines on the 76. What does he do? Drop down to the point, he dies instantly. XQC, the only one alive. It'll be Manhattan planning a huge grab here. It's going to be the Transcendence that comes out from Canada.
Interesting, actually, that Sweden respond with their own Transcendence, perhaps a little bit concerned about the presence of that whole hog. Both teams have actually exercised caution in using ultimates up until this point, but they've let them go now. Rolf drops to Snillo. He's got himself into the backline, but he's rezzed up. Vic Riptide doesn't quite make it all the way. It clipped on the payload. He was hoping for more than his XQC. That's the one pick off for the Riptide, but you need more than that. The heal came straight, the res, should I say, came straight through from Joe Meister to bring him back up. Vic again trying to stay safe in the backline to get damage done, but he's got to backpedal a little bit.
Yeah, but they knew that was Joe Meister's second res. That'll let Chips force his own Valkyrie out, and he brings back Swoosh and Manhattan into the fight. But Canada pushing back Sweden. This is not a good fight for Sweden. They ended up using their Transcendence. They're getting very close to another one here, but they invested, their grab at the beginning of that, and they invested their Valkyrie there.
That was stunning stuff from Rolf. We might get to check it out a little bit later, what he was able to do in that fight. But you notice that Vic kind of eventually got himself into a compromising position as he worked up in that book story. He's hoping to try and get flanking damage done. Riptide, by the way, has just been used this by Mangachu. Again, this is more just a zone of ward off. He probably wasn't looking to connect with that too much, and that did get blown up. And the damage didn't come through as a result. But he's going to try and keep himself safe now inside the hotel. XQC can give so much protection inside these confined areas with that shield being dropped down. Zero finds Mangachu. It's going to be a tactical visor used by Sure4, and Steelo's looking to try and assassinate, but it's going to draw out the Transcendence here. Sweden going to be able to weather the storm of the aimbot and stay up. XQC being largely ignored for the moment here. The damage eventually is delivered to him and he falls.
And Agility's going to earn himself a whole hog. We'll see if he uses it here. He's going to pull it out. That's going to allow Canada maybe get their support ult. It's going to be Joe Meister He's actually able to get his Valkyrie here. It's going to be agility. He's able to take out 2 Chips, just trying to stay alive here. Mercy doing a fantastic job with the moves.
That's massive. He actually allowed Silla to get a kill with the pulse bomb. He kept him alive, locked enough, but there just wasn't enough players from Sweden. And there was a heck of a lot of damage forthcoming from Canada. You can see now the cleanup part of the fight. That's where Mangachu and Surefall really can start to do damage safely and unimpeded by shielding.
Surefall will drop to Vic here as he's trying to get a little bit aggressive, pushing this on out. Canada, you'll have your Transcendence coming in, you'll have your Riptire as well. Surefall getting very close to another attack visor, but Sweden, I expect the attack to come in pretty heavy here. It'll be Mangachu using his own Riptire here, trying to go off the high ground. Oh.
That's some parkour level stuff. He's going to drop it down. Swoosh actually wasn't even damaged by it there. That's so interesting. He's still quite healthy. Perhaps the Riptire was blown up, I think, at just the right moment. Manhattan goes for an aggressive charge. Now, if you watched the animated short yesterday, that's not really the play. That's not what you want to go for and get aggressive. Swoosh trying to come forward as well, but now the Transcendence. Canada are going to use that now, not just defensively, but also to shepherd them forward with a bit of healing as they try and get in the face of the Swedes. Tac visor now for Surefall, but there's a lot of shielding in his way. He's going to try and break Swoosh's barrier, but it's still being held up. The Hulk used to bring everyone together, but Surefall gets very little for that ultimate. He's getting harassed from the side. All supports, watch out! But no, the Riptire goes down in mid-air. Tvik hit it with a remote mine. That's some classy stuff.
And Mangachu just able to get another Riptire that quick. He's trying to stay alive. Sweden, though, pushing the payload closer and closer to point B. Should be able to take this. It'll be Canada backing out. We'll see if Canada makes any changes. It looks like we're going to see Surefall go over to the McCree, so they're going to be able to put a little bit more damage down at range.
This is more of a grind than diamond matchmaking in the Pirate Ship composition, Matt. This has been quite the slow affair. These two teams have been frictioning up against each other as they push their way through the second phase. Eventually Sweden get there and there's a Graviton available, so they can snowball this situation. Nicely done. Zebersai forces the res from Joe Meister. That's as good as getting the kill, especially while Mercy dominates the meta. He's going to get himself closer to that next Transcendence, but Sweden want to group. They want to make sure all the pieces of the puzzle are in place before they pull the trigger.
Well, Sweden is going to have both of their support ults. The same with Canada. If you're Canada, you just have to make sure Joe Meister does not get caught in this grab. He can come back, land a res. There is the grab, and it's a beautiful one.
It's going to be the pulse bomb as well. Stillo manages to connect it. There's no Diva present on the Canadian roster, so Manhattan can feel confident by shooting a Graviton Surge downrange from long distance. He doesn't have to put himself in harm's way to do that anymore, and it's worked out beautifully. Zebersai helping with the cleanup in that fight, but the pulse bomb from Stillo was a nice touch.
Yeah, and Joe Meister, knowing the fight is pretty much lost, does not decide to use his Valkyrie there. Brings one player up, he falls right away, then Joe Meister falls. It'll be Tvik here using the Riptire, going to bring it right to the door. Able to stop some of the players. It'll be Surefall taking that tire out. Here comes Mangachu's tire. It's going to force a Transcendence out on the side of Sweden.
Looks like an episode of Police Academy right now. All these Riptires are being used, and Chips actually was felled by Mangachu's Riptire. So we weren't able to stop it this time, and that's going to take all of the wind out of their sails. That's a Mercy with Valkyrie, and also a huge component of their healing, now fallen by the wayside and forced to respawn back in.
And if you're Canada, you got the Transcendence out from the side of Sweden. Now you know you only have to worry about Chips.
Oh,
he's going to have that Valkyrie. It'll be Rolf taking out Snillo here, and it's going to be an Earth Shatter that comes in from Swoosh. It's a big one, but there's no follow-up coming in because Surefall with the Deadeye able to take out 3.
Now Swoosh is just going to go skydiving. There's not much more to be done here. Surefall has made sure of that. 4 kills in the fight for the Canadian superstar, and the McCree, a signature pick for this man. Worked out a treat. Let's see how it all went down. Look at him sitting in the back, has good positioning. Going to try and shut down the Earth Shatter as it comes in. The barrier is taken down. When Swoosh decided to try and follow up on his own Earth Shatter, he dropped the protective zone for his team, opens them up to that Deadeye.
The only downfall there for Canada is they use both of their support ults. Coming into the next fight, you're going to have the Transcendence for Sweden. You're going to have it to Vic with a Riptire. Snillo with a Pulse Bomb. A lot of ults here for Sweden to work with towards the end.
Riptire from Tvik now as well. It's time for him to step up to the plate. What can he get done here again? Very much trying to go around the garden path, as it were. He found Joe Meister, that'll do it. Especially when Chips getting the res on Tvik just after he dies. Snillo actually challenged down Surefall off camera, manages to find that McCree. It's a dangerous task for a Tracer, but it worked out. Zebersai still taken down, but Canada running out of numbers here. It's Snillo to find Mangachu, and they get across the line. It's 11 seconds on the clock, and not exactly the most blistering pace they would have hoped for. But it'll get the job done, at least for the time being.
Yeah, Sweden just with a few more ults at the end there. They had the Riptire, they had the Pulse Bomb, they had their Transcendence. That last fight that Canada ended up winning, right, where Swoosh uses the Earth Shatter. Canada is forced to use both of their support ults, the Valkyrie and the Transcendence. They don't have either of those to keep them alive towards the end.
With Junkrat now being such a key component of these two team compositions, These teams have never had more damage at their fingertips, but they're dealing with a lot of shielding, and with Mercy being in the state that she is, a lot of healing. So despite the fact that there's so much front-loader burst from both these two teams, it's still about how it's employed and where.
Yeah, it's going to be huge to see coming into this next round, what Canada decides to do, because they have some options here, right? You could run Pharah Mercy with Mangachu. You could have Mangachu run Junkrat again. You could bring Agilities in on the Roadhog too. You could have Mangachu run something like Hanzo. This is where he gets scary for a team like Sweden to go up against, because that you would say when he's playing D.Va, maybe that's a matchup that they could take advantage of, right? When you have him on the D.Va, we've seen some mixed results. But when you get him on some of these pocket picks that he has, it's very hard to game plan against him.
Yeah, Pharah is a distinct possibility here, especially given the history of this team. Mangachu also says that his Hanzo is one of his most favorite picks. I don't know if we're going to see it here, but if we do see the Misfits come out with a similar composition, if Junkrat's going to be it's going to be a big deal. Final moments here, of course, and that was Canada starting to feel it. Obviously, the payload eventually made it towards the end of the map there, but they were in control, and having 11 seconds on the clock is very, very good. So Sweden come without any hit scan pressure. If there were to be a Pharah at some stage, Canada could exploit this.
Which you could see Canada switch to when they find that out, but Canada is going to go with Junkrat Hanzo as their DPS.
Here we go!
And so this is kind of interesting because you can use that Junkrat to put down a ton of damage, break the shields, and then all it takes with Hanzo is 1 or 2 arrows, and you unlock the point for your team.
Yeah, so much damage. Again, it's the amount of damage is available to get rid of these shields is big, but Mangachu's going to suffer there. Tfik comes around the sides and knows he needs to deal with Mangachu. He is a priority target on the side of Canada right now, and a huge threat to the rest of Sweden. But Tfik so far is doing a very good job of managing this level of threat. He's also found XQC off camera, and there wasn't a Resurrect available for Joe Meister, so that puts Canada at 5 on the attack.
And we'll see how long Canada sticks with this. Maybe
no, don't go in there! Oh, it hurts!
That's like the worst spot you could have gone there.
What up now, Sweden? Oh, Mangachu kick it off! Thanks Jaguar for that line, but it's so true! It's a palm to the face, he doesn't even need the close fit! Oh, one on a Dragon Strike as well! Zoning off the point, he's going to give Canada a lot of room to move now, and he has shattered the Swedish defense into smithereens!
Run, Chips! All right, Chips got out alive. Everybody else fell, though. Mangachu with some amazing Hanzo play here. The beginning of Canada's attack on King's Row, and you could see how that comp worked, right? You had a lot of the damage from Canada forcing Sweden back into the corner. Then, a scatter arrow takes out Manitin in the close quarters. A fantastic hook there by Agility. He's not able to finish off Snillo. He's going to get some help. It'll be a pin that comes out from Swoosh, but a good comp here from Canada at the beginning with a fantastic start from Mangachu here. As it's going to be Sherpor uses Riptire, takes a Swoosh. Mangachu with another kill as Canada is starting to heat up.
Chips, it was close. He was down to 57 HP. The plucky Swede tries to go for the Caduceus Blaster and deal with Agilities, but it's not going to be enough. Agilities looking for more. And the crowd is getting behind it. Canada are feeling it, so is everybody else.
Oh, good.
Oh, it's getting real now. It's getting real. Agilities with a nice hook there as well on Swoosh, follows up with a bit of extra damage, and look how far forward Canada are pushing, setting up very deep, preventing Sweden from setting up. Sweden have so many ultimates, but they don't have the positional opportunity to use them.
Well, Agilities can take up so much space on the Roadhog, right? He's able to heal himself up. They'll be pretty self-sustainable. And then, you have the whole hog if they start to push in, and here's going to be the whole hog, forcing Sweden back yet again. Maybe, if you were lucky, you would have gotten one of those support ults now, but now Canada, as they push forward, they're going to have a lot of damage coming through. It's going to be 2 kills, though, here for Sweden. Joe Meister brings Sherpor back into the fight just to get a little bit more consistent damage going into the choke.
This might be the end of the spawn camp here. It's going to be an Earth Shadow that comes in. I think only one player on the side of Canada was felled by that one, but it doesn't seem to be an issue. Graviton comes in, the bomb, good response. There was a Transcendence in plate from Roof, and the only way to deal with that healing per second is to stick some burst damage on the top.
And now I wonder if we see Canada make some changes. They made a lot of good progress with this comp, and now you're going to see Mangachu. It looked like he was going to switch over to the Pharah, but we're going to have an interesting change. So Mangachu will now go over to Roadhog, and you'll have Agilities playing Genji here for Canada. So we know what we've seen Agilities in the past do on Genji. As I say that, he gets
that's not an easy shot to make.
But he's going to be much better than what I just alluded to. He just dropped right away. But Agilities we saw all throughout contenders. We've seen it in the past. Fantastic Genji player. We'll see if he causes problems for Sweden.
Well, spawn camping seems to be the name of the game for now. It's going to be Sweden pushing forward, trying to take some progress back. The payload will slide in the direction of Canada during this time. And Shortfall now to the McCree. Note here that he will have the XQC shield to rely on. Snillo is going to try and threaten him from the backside, but he's going to try and put some longer range pressure down on, you know, these Mercies, these Junkrats sitting back in Sweden's backline.
It's going to be hard, though, for Canada in this next fight because you have both support ults for Sweden. It'll be Mangachu here coming on a flank. Catches everybody from Sweden off guard. He's going to take out both supports here. So you're not going to see the Transcendence come through. You're not going to see the Valkyrie. Now it gives Canada a great opportunity. They can push on through. They may be able to take point B.
This is the kind of composition from Canada that it says, come to Daddy, we're ready for you. The flash is available for Shortfall, so if Sweden get too close, they're going to be warded away by the CC, the crowd control ability that McCree possesses. Now, this Riptide has been running for a while. He actually managed to sneak onto the payload, but good spread from Canada. They keep themselves spaced apart, so they're not all affected by that at once. Another Graviton Surge being used, and that's another big pulse bomb. Snillo seems to have the icing, the cherry on the cake for all of these Gravitons, but yet it hasn't stopped Canada. Not quite yet. XQC up on the payload, fortifying himself just to get that damage reduction. Now steps back behind his shield, but Snillo's there. He's going to circumvent that I guess that small area. Get behind the Orisa and get the damage down. It's a replay. Here's what Snillo did. He got rezzed just for this particular play. And again, the Graviton and the Pulse Bomb combo. Hard to see. A lot of things going on, but Snillo still makes it for 3.
It's a lot of ults invested by Sweden, but Canada as well. Agilities uses Dragon Blade, didn't get anything sure for with a Deadeye there towards the end. Didn't get anything with it either, so you use both of those ultimates. You use your Valkyrie as well. Be Snillo taking out Agilities. He's going to force the res coming out from Joe Meister. Joe Meister, when he went in for the res, gets taken out. We saw that happen yesterday on Kings Row with Canada as well. Joe Meister going to res Agilities up top on the defensive end. Just going a little bit too deep to save one of his DPS players and falls.
And that's not worthwhile. If you can punish a Mercy going for that quick resurrect, then you've done an excellent job. And you've essentially negated that effect and put the enemy team behind. Also, prevented them from having healing for the next 10 seconds. So their ability, their staying power in this stage of the map is heavily reduced. So Riptide's going to come through over the top from Tvik now as well. He's found himself a big tank, and XQC goes the way of the Fallen there. Again, another full reset for Canada. They need that Winston to start these fights. Mangachu's out of position now as well. He's hoping just to cheekily make a Sinatra move back through them. Yet he does escape, but it's going to be the Earthshatter to cut him down. Swoosh is not going to let this go unpunished.
And now Canada's going to be forced to full reset here. They're going to have to back out. 20 seconds left. You expect the pressure to come through from Sweden. You're going to have both support ults online for Sweden. Snillo takes out XQC at the beginning.
That's huge.
It's going to be a huge kill. They just need to get a touch, Canada. You see Sherford going on a flank here. He switches over to the Tracer, and I think Tvik has an idea that he's going all the way around.
The payload's a long way away, and Sweden done a very good job of pushing forward. Shortfall was trying to secure overtime by getting to the payload, but there's no opportunity to do so. Sweden do the right thing. They get up in Canada's face. They were a long way away from the payload. The defender's advantage was palpable there for Sweden, and they use it. Now we have a series, man. It's one apiece, and the response is echoing around this arena from Sweden. They will not go down so easily.
Yeah, and on the offensive side for Canada, things were rolling with the Hanzo and the Junkrat. As soon as Sweden, though, they had banked up so many ults, right? As soon as they won that first fight, they never let up.
Righto, well, 2 maps down, hopefully many more to come. We're going to head to a break and then get a word from our analyst desk for the halftime show. Don't go too far, more to come.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
It's clear that he is among the very best players in the world. What makes him special is his diversity of hero selections. He can play basically anything.
His Tracer is almost unstoppable. That's the strong point of the Swedish roster.
The focus in the situation, even as Tvik winning that one-on-one battle. Tvik has been on fire here today.
It's a vindication for the Swede.
You can put the guy on Zarya, you can put the guy on Genji or Tracer or Soldier, and he's always going to turn up, especially under pressure. I mean, the guy just turns into a beast at land, so Tvik is just something else to watch, really.
Tvik is just such class. You don't see that much class out of a lot of these younger guys. Just seeing his composure, just seeing, you know, the type of headspace this guy constantly is in, is kind of a reason why we're seeing Team Sweden move on to BlizzCon.
My overall composure is just like a natural thing. I'm just like always thinking like, what can I do now to improve our next fight, or what can I do now to win this fight? Like, it's always like a constant thinking of constant adaptation.
Tvik cleaning up the scraps off of the chaos.
Just an extra insurance policy for Sweden.
Tvik can play a ton of different heroes in extremely high level. He's been arguably the best player in the world for a very long time now. He's definitely one of the most important people on the Swedish roster, and one of the big reasons why they're going to do pretty well at BlizzCon.
What a way to kick things off here. We're at the half, and it's all tied up 1-1. Sweden versus Canada certainly has been an explosive matchup, and I use that with pun fully intended because of the Junkrat plays that we have seen on both sides, from Tvik and from Mangachu as well. It's been amazing. What a game so far, James.
Yeah, everything's been coming up explodey here in this matchup, and Junkrat all across both Nepal and Kings Row, and it's been a sight to behold, really.
What about for you, Zeep?
It's been very interesting. I think that both teams have definitely showed us some good stuff. Canada in particular, where Canada is just, I think, shored up some of their weaknesses that we saw from day number one. And we'll get into that in a little bit.
That's very true. Now, James, I do understand that you have a highlight for me because it has been a bit of a challenge for Snillo, a young man here playing on the world stage. He hasn't really found his groove yet. What do you got for me, buddy?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw on Kings Row that he, on the offense, had a little bit difficulty trying to get in because he had to deal with the threat of Mangachu. He had to deal with agilities on that Roadhog. So if we go into this highlight we have, we'll see how they actually deal with him. At one point, as a Tracer, if you try to get into the back line, we see he blinks around to the back, and he's going to be able to get this frag onto Rolf. But as a Tracer, you're just way out of position. So he commits, gets the kill, instant res comes in, and he gets punished by that Riptire coming out from Mangachu. We're going to see it once again from the overhead camera here. Now, they had a great engage, but once again, Snillo tries to get to the back, and he gets punished. He doesn't have the res. They have the man advantage on the side of Canada.
Something that I think is really important to note here is that Snillo was running the obstacle course this entire time, where Canada was running both the Roadhog and the Junkrat gear. And when we looked at Snillo trying to move around and get into the back, what would constantly happen is you'd see agilities move forward and deny him access to Joe Meister. You would see him run around and run into Mangachu in a dark alley. Not a great look overall.
You make it sound so ominous. You know?
Well, it is pretty ominous because that's how you get exploded.
Yeah. Well, speaking of explosions here, we have Junkrat stats for Mangachu. I mean, this guy was lights out in that Kings Row game. He also got to bust out the Hanzo as well. He had a couple big plays. That scatter kill as well was ridiculous. You never go into a corner when daddy's got the scatter arrow, you know, like, come on, people. But hey, you know, mistakes were made at that moment. That being said, though, now that we are all tied up 1-1, and sure, we have been singing the praises here of Canada for what they've done right. They did lose that Kings Row game. So, James, you're Canada going into this. What do you do to bounce out of it? Or better yet, you're Sweden. How do you continue to ride the wave?
I mean, Canada looked like they were running out of steam a little bit there, especially on their offense. We kind of saw them really try to go back to basics with agilities, going on to that Genji once again, and then putting Mangachu on the Roadhog. That was a really odd move, I would say. You might as well just go ahead and put that Diva in there, possibly try to eat up some of those Gravitons, or even possibly the Pulse Bomb, because those were the big combos that came in time and time again that were shutting down that offense.
Yeah.
I think the issue there, though, is that Canada was doing well because they were keeping Mangachu to heroes of strength for him. They kept him on the Junkrat. They put him on the Hanzo, where we've seen him use the Hanzo very well in First Point Kings Row. The issue here is that D.Va has not really been a strength for him, but there was a time in the past where Roadhog was. So I think for Canada, even though it didn't quite work out there and it got them off their comfort zone, for them, they're trying to play up to their strengths, and they're also trying to protect their weaknesses, where you look at Joe Meister, and he had bodyguards the entire time. They realized that it was a little bit of a rough day for Mercy yesterday, but now we're going to protect you. We're going to shore up across the line, and even though they weren't able to take King's Row, I do like the approach that Canada is taking here from a strategical level.
Well, you know who else I like the approach of? T-Mobile. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. You guys can get involved and vote for the T-Mobile MVP. It's very easy. If you're in the Twitch chat right now, you could use the exclamation mark T-Mobile MVP and then the battle tag of the player that you want to vote for on Twitter. Same thing there, except this time it's with a hashtag. So you hashtag T-Mobile MVP, and then you put the battle tag of the player that you are looking to vote for. We'll catch up with the leaderboard later on in the show and see where we are. That being said, though, while the Canadians did fall in Game 2, they have had a very strong showing against Sweden. And we had an opportunity to catch up with Canada, get their thoughts, and see how they felt coming into the 2017 Overwatch World Cup playoffs.
Surefour has been one of, if not the best North American DPS player so far in Overwatch.
He's one of these 6 players that have been insane at the game since the release of the game.
He is one of the main superstar players that people think of when they think of professional Overwatch, and he's been a big reason as to why Team Canada has been successful.
Heard that. He knows he's there. Goodbye.
Oh, it hurts bad.
He's one of those people who came out to the scene first. Everyone was just like, how is he so good? How can he, get those shots?
At the start of his career, people thought that the guy was cheating. He was just so good. And one of the biggest things about Surefour is his ability just to stay cool under pressure.
I think the biggest thing about my Tracer is consistency. I don't have like off days or amazing days. I'm pretty consistent in how I play.
Airtime, Surefour looking for the pickup with a pulse spot right now. Is going to find Hex on the side.
That's big. He's what we like to call in the Overwatch scene a unicorn, where he is an incredibly versatile player.
I can pretty much play any hero, so I can always just shift around.
Surefour is an extremely talented hit-scan player. Personally, I love him best on McCree. He's got that dreamy cowboy look about him.
Whether it be playing Tracer or McCree or 76, I mean, the guy could play any hero and succeed.
In the early matches, Surefour.
Surefour is a force to be reckoned with.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
With Overwatch, and suddenly all these ideas started to spring out, and it just really, really inspired the team to make this game.
Yeah, and so we're supposed to be working on this Crossroads of the Universe idea, and we're only like maybe 4 or 5 days into it.
We never got to the final pitch deck.
No,
we're like,
we didn't make it all the way, and like Ray Gresco, who was our production director at the time and is now our executive producer, he came and he looked over my shoulder and he's like, oh, so are you guys working on that MMO idea? Is that what that deck is that you've got up on your screen? I'm like, no, actually, Ray, this is a different idea. Let me show it to you real quick. And it was super brief because it was only 8 slides. And Ray just immediately turns to me and says, that's what we should be doing instead. you need to pitch this to the team and see how they feel about it.
Will be on offense first, at least at the start here. It looks like, I know you're going to have agilities running the Genji, Surefour on the Tracer. Maybe we see an offensive team pull out a Widow, get a little bit inspired by what you saw with Flower do last night. Unfortunately for either of these teams, they don't have a Widow like Flower, who evidently can't miss. That was just an insane performance last night. But no, Surefour, pretty good Widow maker. Same with Manitin on the side. We've seen, side of Sweden, we've seen him play some Widow in the past. But on defense, at least for Sweden, it looks like you'll have a Winston Roadhog combination in terms of tanks. You'll have Tvik on the 76 and then Snillo on the Tracer.
Plenty of solid Widowmaker players on either side of the map here. However, it's unlikely we'll see anything like that last night. That's the stuff for special occasions. That's the stuff you keep in the pantry and only put on the table for Christmas and Thanksgiving. That's the fancy cookware. But Canada and Sweden have their own way to go for it. Zebasai there as well, having good performance in that last map. Very much involved in the fights, and Canada want to do the same. Roof this time says, all right, Zebo, you might have your screen real estate, but I'm now going to show up, and that first frag is a Zen on Zen 1, and Chips has to res him straight back up. That's another one for Rolf. He's the only man with kills so far from the backline, commanding his forces and getting the damage done.
Yeah, they're going to bring Mangachu back up onto the point. XQC somehow still alive on this Winston, and he gets aggressive right away. You have this dive comp that comes out from Canada. Rolf just loading up those orbs of Zenyatta. He's going to put a lot of them right in the face of Swoosh. Now Zebasai just trying to stay alive. They split him off. Here comes Tvik onto the point. Trying to find something with his tac visor. It's going to force the Transcendence out.
Yeah, he's forced to back away behind the bell there. He probably could have even gone for the 1v1 on towards Tvik because there was a Discord orb, but then we saw the Valkyrie come out a little bit hard. Chips was got a good healing, but Rolf has gotten so many kills so far in this round. This is insane. 5 final blows for Rolf, 8 eliminations. The highest on his team. It's insane. Surefour has 4 eliminations. He's in second, so Rolf really getting the damage done.
It's a fantastic start for Team Canada. They do have their Valkyrie here. On the side of Sweden, you already used your Valkyrie. You're getting very close to the Transcendence. We can have the overlay swap for you guys just a second up at the top. But Canada on the attack. They have built up a good chest of ultimates here. They're going to lose a few players. They're going to have to back out there.
Still, definitely the start that Canada were looking for. And again, with these two teams, no one's reinventing the wheel, man. It's a slow, concerted approach towards the points, and it's simply a matter of trying to outdamage your opponents and quickly try and exploit any weaknesses that you can identify. Agility's is close to that Dragon Blade, though. That's definitely another way of trying to carve a swath through a defensive team. But again, they need to get position. They need this high ground. They're going to get the reflect on towards that hook. It's not going to connect. Now Agility's is going to make his way forward soon. And Primal Rage in the background as Tvik does fall and is res hastily.
Well, you have Canada going to the lineup they used yesterday on Hanamura, where you have Surefour, you get him set up on the high ground. Here's going to be the blade that comes out from Agilities. It's going to be the Transcendence that comes through. Joe Meister with the Valkyrie, he brings 2 players back to life as Canada trying to take this point.
Up on the point, they've got 3 players there. Sweden is struggling to respond to this a little bit now. Joe Meister sees Rolf is being harassed in the backside, does offer him a little bit of healing. Then Rolf just drops on towards the point. The Transcendency was saving up in that little engagement, now gets used. Snillo gets a pulse bomb on Surefour, which is not an easy thing to do given how sprightly Soldier 76 is in his old age. And now the rest of Sweden are starting to turn the tide. An inexorable grip of the blue and yellow now is firmly back on their point.
And Canada uses both support ults there. Sweden, Tvik holds on to his Dragon Blade. So now for the next fight, you have the Dragon Blade at the hands of Sweden. You most likely don't have to use your Valkyrie to take this fight. There's nothing that can sustain Canada through it. And then now Sweden can start to build up some good ultimate economy, right? Because you use that Dragon Blade, you win the fight, you don't have to spend anything else. You'll get both support ults back, you'll get a Primal Rage, you get a Pulse Bomb for that next fight. You have a lot more utility to use as well.
If they can win the fight with just the Dragon Blade, that'd be pretty good. And it'd be pretty efficient given the way that Genji generally operates and interacts with defending teams this day and age. Surefour wants to get a good position up on this ledge. He wants to be there, unfettered while the rest of his team goes up. Tvik doesn't want to give him free reign there because he knows that tactical visor from Surefour, that off angle, is going to be absolutely devastating. So Surefour's waiting to try and get rid of it, but he's not going to get out. Snillo knows exactly who he needs to pulse bomb. That's the second consecutive pulse bomb that claims the life of Surefour, and here's the Dragon Blade, just for the finishing touches.
And XQC is going to use his Primal Rage. You're going to see the Primal Rage come out from Swoosh as well. XQC jumps off the side there. Nothing he can do. Now Canada, they have a better chance coming back in the next one. You see Tvik use his Dragon Blade. The Primal Rage comes out from Sweden. Sweden, still has both of their support ults. But look at Canada now. Everybody but XQC has their ultimate. You can use that tack visor, maybe force one of the support ults out. You can keep everybody alive with your own support ults, and then maybe see if Agilities can do some work with his own Dragon Blade.
We did see that Tvik in his quarterfinal game had a lot of Dragon Blades, very frequently pulled. He'd like to have one now, but unfortunately used it in the last fight, so it's going to be Agility's turn to step up to the plate in just a second. It's 5 ultimates for Canada. Swoosh is down already, force the res, Chips gets it back up, and now Manaton falls here. A huge opening for Canada to come forward. It's going to be the Valkyrie for Chips to try and get Manaton back up on his feet. Getting rid of Shore4 was a master play there, but he's brought back into the game by Joe Meister. Now Canada are the one, they're taking a lot of hits. Tvik now is looking for Rolfing, finds him, it's the right click to claim him. 3 Shuriken thrust in the general direction, and that'll be good night, Sweet Prince.
Oh man, not a good fight for Canada. Use both support ults there. You don't really get anything out of it. Now Tvik has built up another Dragon Blade. By the way, Zeboside didn't have to use the Transcendence there, so you still hold on to that. It's a big win there for Sweden. Now they have a huge advantage as the clock dwindling down for Canada.
Defensively speaking, Sweden are a very, very good team, especially in this series. Their attacks haven't exactly been the stuff of legend, but we saw they're able to erect on King's Row that incredible defense where they push forward, and now they're looking comfortable. They've got 5 ultimates. If they ration these out for the long winter that they should damn well be used to by now, they should be comfortable here and making this incredibly costly for Canada.
Yeah, I mean, what is your best play here if you're Canada? You know, you can go for that high ground. Maybe you force out the Transcendence and another ult, and you're able to take it. But it's Snilla with a Pulse Bomb. Now everything's starting to fall apart here for Canada. They can't even get close to the point as it's going to be Sweden rolling on through them. Now Sweden pushing on forward. Going to try and stagger XQC out here. He's the only one alive. Trying to put down some more damage. He will fall. So he earns himself Primal Rage. Now for Canada. Oh, okay.
Well, from downtown as well. That was a stunning shot from Shore4.
Yeah, I mean, you get chips, but can you take advantage of it, right? I mean, he's going to get right back up into the fight. Maybe it just forces Sweden back a little bit, but Sweden with all of these ultimates in complete control of this game.
Mangachu's going to be quite frustrated playing up against Manaton at the moment because there's not much he can do about a hook. If he gets hooked in by that Roadhog and burst down very quickly, that mech is going to be done very, very quickly, and Canada's defensive capability will be cut significantly. Now it's going to be the Primal Rage on towards the point. XQC is trying to draw attention away from this high ground, but he falls to the whole hog. A very good response from Manaton. There's nothing that the tank and XQC can do about that. This one Roadhog pick simultaneously is able to counter Mangachu and XQC's presence purely on the intrinsic nature of his kit.
Yeah, the Primal Rage from XQC, it draws out the whole hog and it draws out a Primal Rage. He's going to switch now over to the Reinhardt, so maybe try and get their Sureforce set up on that high ground a little bit easier behind the shield, but maybe you see the Primal Rage come out from XQC trying to push some players back, maybe like bait out one of those support ults, get somebody a little bit trigger happy, you know, popping a Transcendence or something.
Again, it's about getting Canada into position without getting picked off. That's why we'll need this Rhine shield. Oh, that's not good. Shilfer got stuck. Snillo's found him again. A res, but Snillo already found Joe Meister. He's completely gutted Canada before they even got started. Once again,
these pushes don't even really start for Canada. It's just very difficult. It'll be Surefor using the attack visor here. Now it's Canada fighting back. XQC takes out Tvik. Surefor is going to take out Zeboside.
Here's a chance.
And here's a chance for Canada. Chips off the spawns, going to have the Valkyrie. Let's see how they play this.
Second tick pretty close now as well. Tvik's going to go for the Dragon Blade. That's a ballsy play for him. He's going to go on the high ground. He still fights Shore4 despite the presence of Joe Meister who bursts through the healing. But Joe gets the res. Tvik now is going to get back up on his feet. Zeboside switching towards the Widowmaker. The very short-lived Etude. He's going to be taken down. Another res again from Chips to bring him back up. Primal Rage from the swoosh controlling space. Chips on the high ground, but Shore4 is back and he's here to do some damage. But no, the Winston's in his way. The Primal Rage knocks him back on towards his lower ground and he's not done there. Swoosh identifies a key target in the whirling midst of this chaos and gets rid of him. Now it's time for Agilities to step up with the Dragon Blade. He's found Swoosh. Mangachu's low. Joe Meister desperately trying to keep him alive while Agilities and Tvik are locked in a deadly 1v1. Agilities disengages from that fight, tries to back away, but those res cooldowns are coming through now. Mangachu is back up. Zeboside in position now on this Widowmaker, and that's it! It's gonna be the hold. 1 point for Canada. They're unsuccessful to push all the way through, and swoosh. What a huge moment. The King of the Jungle comes up big. These are some of the opening moments. Rolf, such a key player. In fact, both of those flex supports for these two teams were huge.
Yeah, Rolf at the beginning, you know, for point A was huge for Canada. There towards the end, I love that play by Swoosh. You know, they're really they're using the races to bring up Surefour back into the fight constantly, up on the high ground on the 76. And there towards the end, you know, Zebosai switches to the Widow. Maybe he's able to get a shot at him up on the high ground, and maybe Zebo's able to take out the Mercy, you know, Joe Meister. But it was really Swoosh getting in Surefour's face, forcing him down from that high ground. Just bought his teammates some time, get on the point, you know, without the consistent damage coming down from the 76.
Swoosh was laser focused there on chasing Joe Meister at the time. Joe was up on the high ground, he got the res towards Surefour, and he eventually got picked up, and then Swoosh realized that, wait a minute, I'm standing on top of an enemy Soldier 76. He pursued his target doggedly. There was no space for Surefour to operate. In that position, when you're set up as an attacking Soldier 76, on that high ground ledge facing the front of the point, you can do an incredible amount of work there, especially if you are unattended. But the priority and the clear calls to focus down Surefour and take him off of his high perch was a huge component of what allowed Sweden not only to cut the damage potential of Canada in that last fight, but ultimately to hold.
And the Winston is so frustrating for the 76 to deal with on the high ground because, you know, obviously Winston with the great mobility, able to just jump right up, and then you try and escape away to that lower ground, he's able to jump down, and then just like body block you. Like you're forced to just basically just put all your bullets into Winston. You can't get any damage, and then he drops the bubble right.
He's as good as a shield. He doesn't even need
a
shield because he fills up so much of your field of view. Frustrating stuff.
You can't really get around him.
And XQC knows how to do that too. Both these two teams are very proficient Winston players. Notice that Canada are LOSing right now, which means that they're blocking line of sight, or they're not really giving Sweden this information. They're going to hide around the corner. And Sweden are going to have to walk in and deal with this up close and personal, which is kind of what Canada are hoping for. They made a lot of noise. Sweden have given their position away to Canada. They could be chased here. Sweden want to try and rotate around, take the high ground, and Canada have to let them do that. It's too risky for them to try and take them on head on right now. But now they're split a little bit here. XQC going to the point. Swoosh is trying to decide where he needs to be right now, but good focus to play from Surefour on the high ground. Again, the man's unattended.
Yeah, and something from Sweden here, just to point out, you're going to see Zebosai running the Lucio. That's going to give them the speed to get up towards that high ground. A lot of the support combos we've seen throughout the weekend has been the Zen and the Mercy with the Discord Orbs. Not going to see that from Sweden. See, the damage going to need to do even more work.
Chips, careful. I tell you what, the man's got cojones if he wants to try and go head-to-head with a Tracer like that, but he doesn't exactly have the fire rate or the mobility or the survivability or the...
Lacking a lot, lacking a lot.
Not exactly a fair fight, but he went for it regardless. And interesting stat there as well, that Joe Meister's almost died twice as often. That doesn't necessarily say that they're bad at defending him or that Sweden are good at killing him, but the fact that he has, you know, gone down more times does say something.
Well, I think you can clearly see when we have a lot of these fights, he's a little bit more aggressive than Chips, and when he's going to kind of force it,
Canada
go
were
for
on
those
the attack
reses.
in the first half as well. Bear that in mind. Sweden were defending, so it's safer for him.
Naturally, he needs to be more aggressive.
Yeah. So we'll see if that really means anything in the grand scheme of things. But Sweden now dropped on towards the point. The bell does toll, but for whom, Matt? That's the question. Swoosh has dropped onto the point. Now the pulse bomb giving follow-up. Stillo's there on towards Surefour. Swoosh is more than happy to get up inside these close quarters and use that Tesla rifle. It's going to be the D-suit on magnitude now, just in pilot diva form. Not long for this world, no doubt about it. And we're going to have Sweden set up. The team kill gong rings out, not unlike the big old bell next to him. And they'll have this point as they take a deep breath. And so should we too.
And what's even worse for Canada there is they actually use their Valkyrie inside of this room, and Snillo takes out Joe Meister instantly, uses the Valkyrie, gets agilities back up, dies right away. It's a huge win there.
I like
Canada.
Sweden's whole composition allows them to cross that gap outside, so they can sneak around behind Canada. They've caught them unawares here. This is beautiful stuff. They're able to close the gap and get up close, prevent Canada from actually setting up on that top right side as they often want to. So they're already onto the point. That's big. They only need 75% of this capture progress here, so it's not quite even a full capture that's required. Zebosai, though, a little bit caught out, is getting healed up by Chips here. Good attention from Chips to realize his other support is being pressured down. Chips now on the res on towards Swoosh. He did just fall to the Helix rocket of Surefour, and now to Vic gives it just as good as he gets. Both 76ers have been rezzed up. It's a 6v6 now, but XQC has fallen. Numbers favor Sweden in this fight as it continues, and Zebo's close to a sound barrier. That could be huge in this fight if Sweden can hang on.
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure on him. Magnitude, get him D-maxed. Chips just healing up. His teammates from the back. Swoosh doing a nice job putting some pressure, but it's going to be Rolf and Surefour trying to keep this alive for Canada, and they have done it for the time being.
Nice job by Surefour there. He knows that Joe Meister was being pressured down by Swoosh. Swoosh was just trying to get an exit kill in that case. So he puts the biotic field down. 76's healing ability. Joe Meister stands inside that healing field. He stays up on his feet. Sweden don't get more than they bargained for. But one tick is a damn good start. 34.4% on the way to 75. That's all they need to win this third map.
And you're going to see Sweden bring the Roadhog out again because it's great, obviously, against Winston. And they're also just trying to catch Mangachu off guard here. It's going to be the Dragon Blade that comes out from Agilities, trying to hunt some players down. Finally gets to Tvik. Tvik takes him out, though, in the process as well. You'll bring Tvik right back into the fight, though.
Yeah, it's a one-for-one trade, but in the meantime, Shawfor and XQC have been doing work. Sweden didn't even get to the point this time around. And that's going to be another one fight for Canada. But I beseech you, have a look at the big old white and blue ticks there for Sweden. They have a lot of ultimates to work with. Valkyrie will be there. Zebasai switches off the Lucio now. Sweden no longer playing for trying to outmaneuver and take Canada by surprise. They get rid of the speed boost. They favor that damage that Zebasai we know can deal from the backline as well as that transcendence when it becomes available.
Well, I mean, in that fight, Sweden invested their sound barrier and they got Canada to burn their Dragon Blade and their own Valkyrie. So it's a pretty good fight there for Sweden, as now Sweden just trying to take this high ground. It's going to be XQC, power the Primal Rage to stay alive. But look at this, they caught Mangachu out of position again with a Roadhog hook. He's going to be forced to use the self-destruct just to get the mech back.
Yeah, and honestly, he was never going to get any value with that ultimate anyway because the suit had been knocked across the map onto the low ground. Zebasai goes down early, but it's picked up yet again. Joe Meister's down. That's big. No Resurrect available from Canada right now. This could be the opportunity that they were looking for. Set up on the point. There's two players for Sweden contesting almost that second tick. Stiller with a pulse bomb here. He's going to be looking for that next target, but no. Madison was low despite having the whole orb of harmony on him. He had to back away and got taken down. That was potentially very dangerous for Canada, but a good recovery. Keep themselves back in this fight.
It kind of reminds me of the Junkertown game the other day with Canada. It looks like things are going awful, and then you have Agilities on the Genji, Shawfor and the Tracer just staying alive on the point, staying alive on the point. Shawfor went big in the last game that we saw yesterday against Australia on Junkertown. Goes big there, picks up 2 kills, preserves the game here for Canada.
Transcendence, the aforementioned ultimate ability that Zebasai primarily wanted to switch for, is now available. It's about how that's going to be employed, and again, Rolf opens up the fight well. Again, Chips has to res early, uses that key cooldown, and now another big cooldown. The Transcendence must be drawn out from Sweden. And despite this, Stilo is still felled. Shawfor is more than happy to take the Tracer 1v1, and the young gun from Sweden must bow, he must submit. And now Joe Meister trying to res, but there's been quite a lot of damage done. He can't get Agilities back on his feet, and now the whole Hog claims that mercy. It's a messy fight, there's no doubt about it. You can see that Chips and Madison have essentially swapped places here with Canada, trying to get Shawfor. One more shot will get it, and Madison connects with a scrap gun, but it's not enough to be going on with. It's not enough for Sweden to build that momentum. Right now, they need to content themselves with building ultimate percentage, getting ready for another big fight. There's a minute 50 left.
Yeah, Shawfor did his job. As soon as he kills Zebasai, it's going to force Sweden to wait a little bit. And something I was just noticing it. Agilities is building up this Dragon Blade so fast. You know, on average, just a minute and 15 seconds to build up towards that blade. Just able to farm on these big tanks, specifically Manitin, right? You're just able to land down those shots. He's already had another one. It's pretty much been every fight he's been able to have a Dragon Blade.
75 seconds for a Dragon Blade is definitely lower than average, so that's an impressive performance from him. Pulse Bomb, these suits Mangachu, but Chips was felled by Shawfor's. That's definitely a better trade if you're Canada. They need the Chips so badly, they require their mercy. And Shawfor's been very, very good at penetrating in to the backlines of Sweden and dealing with those key targets. Frustrating for Chips, and if I'm not mistaken, he Valkyried in that fight.
Yes,
he used his ultimate.
He Valkyried at the beginning of the fight. We did see the Valkyrie, though, come out of Joe Meister as well. So both teams invest their mercy ults. You're not going to have that double res coming into the next one. For Sweden, you don't have your Transcendence, so 75% of the way there. You'll probably get it in the next fight, but you're going to have Agilities with this Dragon Blade, right? He uses the Dragon Blade, they win this fight, then maybe Sweden has one last-ditch effort. It's going to be very tough.
Madison hastily taking a breather there. Health back to full. Agilities expects pressure from Zebasai, but he wasn't even noticed, so he uses that cooldown. He's going to go for another cooldown. The Dragon Blade, what can he find? Oh, Tvik does fire up. The tactical visor claims the ninja's life, but not before he got rid of the Omnic Monk. It's Zebasai down. Forced res yet again. That's another one that Chips has had to go for. Look who he's looking for. It's going to be an Angel, but there's no Angels in XQC jungle.
He goes huge. He actually kills Chips with the Primal Rage. Now he forces Tvik all the way out of position off of that high ground. It's a beautiful play for XQC, but look at how many players are on the point for Sweden. It's got to be Agilities. Get back on. Keep this one alive for Canada.
They're so close. They need 7% more. That's not much. It's going to be a desperate attempt for Shawfor. Drops the pulse bomb, but that's not the present that Canada were looking to give. Sweden set themselves up. They stand tall. It's going to be a second map for the Swedes. And this is starting to heat up.
You know, an XQC used that Primal Rage. He takes out Chips, put a lot of pressure on it. Tvik knocks him down from the high ground. I believe you had Manitin, Swoosh, and Snillo there on the point for Sweden. taking out some of the other players for Canada, and then Sweden just had a huge advantage on the point.
Great defense from Sweden. The attack was decent. It was enough to get over the line. 2-1 now. Heading to a break. We'll be back with more real quick.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
It's a tough time to be a Mercy player, Matt. Both Chips and Joe Mighty getting pressured heavily down in this series. It's game 4, ladies and gentlemen. Canada versus Sweden. Matt, quite the back and forth, Matt. We saw a lot of pulse bomb action, though, previously on Hanamura.
Yeah, to Vic in the previous map, I believe, finished 51 to limbs, just played absolutely out of his mind. But you mentioned both of those Mercy players. You know, Chips out-healing Joe Meister and also getting more reses, as it was actually more kills for Sweden. So usually you'd obviously expect, you know, the more kills that go down for one team, the reses and the healing kind of higher up for the opposing team. But it's actually Sweden who's actually able to get a lot more healing out of their Mercy and more reses. And obviously combined with the firepower that they have, it results in a win there on Hanamura.
There might be something there in those numbers, Matt. We'll check them out later on. We'll see how they develop. But Watchpoint Gibraltar. It's going to be our 4th map this series. It will be Sweden starting off on the defensive side, and Matt, I think it's safe to say Sweden have been looking good on their defense in general over this series. They've got triple DPS though on this setup.
We see here at the beginning at least, okay, I thought we were going to see the pirate ship strategy out of Canada. Maybe get Sherfor on the Bastion, get him on the point, but it looks like he's going to be on the Widowmaker. You're going to have agilities here on the Genji.
Oh my god. Sure-for Widowmaker. It's been a while since we've seen this one, Matt. See what he can do. Set up on the high ground again. To emulate Flower would be almost an insurmountable task, but Sure-for, if anyone's going to be up to it, it's him.
And the big player here for me has got to be Chips, right? I mean, as a solo support with that Widowmaker, he's got to be so careful on where to position himself.
No headshots yet for Sure-for. Now it's been pressured down. That's a very underwhelming opener for the star play here on Team Canada. I think Rez is coming out very quickly here. It was Joe Meister and Chips getting Manhattan and Sure-for back up on their feet. So they're investing in this Widowmaker. They really want to keep her on her feet. XQC wins out the 1v1 against Zebasai on the 76. Obviously, he's flexing into that role now. But he's lacking teammates right now. Doesn't really have anyone with him and decide where to go.
And Sure-for was able to take out Chips there, but it was just everybody else from Sweden just stepping up, picking up the kills, allowing Chips to get back into the fight. And as the Widowmaker, I mean, Sure-for's main job here is going to try and take out Chips. They get him very low yet again. He escapes, gets out of harm's way, but the pressure that he can put onto the opposing team's Mercy, that's why you're going to run the Widowmaker.
Agilities very quickly, a riposte in the direction of of Snillo as he tried to let a salvo go from those pulse pistols. But now, in over the top, he's looking for the vulnerable backline. Although there's a 76 there, you got to respect that. Zebasai with a tactical visor, more for his own survival than anything else. But XQC, he found 3 kills. 2 of them are off screen with the Primal Rage, and he finds a third. That's a huge brace, a huge haul for this man. On his own is that Winston Tank to get 3.
Yeah, Zebasai up top uses the tac visor. As soon as Agilities goes in, he's trying to protect Chips a little bit. Chips goes out to the outside, and XQC pops Primal Rage, just goes right past Zebasai. So you can check it out here on instant replay. You see Chips there, he gets low. XQC forces him into the corner, then knocks back the tac visor from Zebasai. It's a beautiful use of Primal Rage.
Absolutely, of course, just the extra finishing touches on towards Swoosh there, but that was the Rock'em Sock'em Derby if I've ever seen it. Nicely done. Now Agility's up in the corner. The Transcendence now gives him a bit more confidence in coming forward. He knows he's got the healing to back him up. The pressure on towards Managin is extreme. Managin trying to retreat back to the safety of the Biotic Field, but it doesn't last forever, unfortunately. Agilities now has found yet another play. You can see he's just setting himself up, dealing with those reinforcements, making sure Zebasai doesn't have any room to work. And he's done such a great job. 10 kills in a row for this man, or at least 10 kill involvements. He's been staying alive. He's been doing his job. Tavik had no chance. Agility's now starting to style on him a little bit more.
And with all the pressure that Agilities, Mangachu, and XQC are putting on, that's allowing Surefour to just have so much space on the Widowmaker. He's putting down some damage, able to tank out 2 players during that fight as Canada, they unlock point A, now moving towards point B. You'll have Agilities getting closer towards a Dragon Blade here. Zebasai switches over to the Lucio, probably give his team a little bit more speed to get back up closer towards the point. It'll be Agilities at 1 with the Dragon Blade, searching for more. Snillo with the recall, trying to get out of harm's way. Here's going to come a self-destruct out of Manitin, able to get Joe Meister. That's a big kill.
The responding self-destruct doesn't claim anyone, but Mangachu doesn't mind. He just needs to get his suit back. The defense matrix is so crucial. You can see he used it to keep Rolf alive there, as he was getting pressured down by Manitin. Mangachu fires up. Surefour's now finding his shots. It's not a moment too soon either. Canada, at risk of being slowed down and gummed up here in this second phase, have come alive, and Surefour now in its position. See that? Good control. Didn't fire at a reflecting Genji. That might have been his head on a platter. And now he'll wait for a head to present itself.
Canada, they have the Transcendence. They're going to try and lead the way with Manitin using the, the defense matrix. But you see, with the changes that come through, there's not enough for him to make it all the way to Surefour. One nice play shot gets him really weak. It's going to force him to go back for healing. It'll be Mangachu taking out Swoosh. That's going to force Chips to use his Valkyrie.
Surefour tries to get a bit more of a safer angle here. Snillo was encroaching on his position. He does get away, but he denies himself key sightlines as well. And Tavik still going to chase him across the map. It's a global taunt locking in that Widowmaker. And Tavik could smell the cheese. He was hunting for it.
Agility is going to pop the Dragon Blade here. Yet again, though, Canada is still in this fight. Agility's with 2, Mangachu with 1. Agility is going to cut down Tavik. It's the Primal Rage plus the Dragon Blade keeps Canada in it. They unlock point B. Now for Sweden, you use your Valkyrie in that fight, use Dragon Blade, Tavik will switch off, he'll go over to the 76. Use some ultimates there. Surefour now will switch off of the Widowmaker. He's done his job on that hero. Now he's going to try and put some more pressure here for Team Canada as they try and make the payload, turn that corner. He's going to use the Tracer to get up in the face of Sweden.
Historically, this is the part of the map where dive defenses can actually have a lot of success, but Sweden's running the Tracer 76 composition. Snillo opens up well, though. We still managed to find Rolf, who is quickly resurrected to keep back up on his feet. Tavik maybe goes in a little bit too deep here. Canada don't have to chase too far for these kills. They're actually coming to them. Zebasai gets caught away from the rest of his team. Mangachu is just a cheeky little boot there. Gets some damage into Swoosh, which said he doesn't prefer to play the Diva, but when he needs to, he makes it work.
And Agilities is going to have another blade, and Sweden is not going to have any of their support ults to deal with it. See, Agilities is forced, Chips all the way to the back. Second fight in a row that Agilities is able to get Chips early. Those are huge pickoffs for Canada. And now if you're Canada, you're going to have a Transcendence most likely. You're going to get close to a Primal Rage. You're going to have self-destruct. And you're going to have the blade. And here it comes.
It's going to come in. I don't know what Sweden have done, but Agilities are trying to put him on a house arrest. They're going to be able to get out of their spawn at least and back onto the payload. But the Transcendence is there. So even if Sweden are present, the damage is just not going to stick for the time being. Swoosh is res back up, but Surefour and Agilities have found their targets. Manitin does get desuited. Defense matrix not available. Micro rockets aren't there either. Snillo trying to dash around the point, and Swoosh is desperately flailing with the flying fists of fury, but it's not going to be enough. And the finish comes in the form of Canada getting across. 2 minutes, 20 seconds. That's the time remaining.
I thought it was fantastic play on offense from Canada. Just an overall great effort. Like, it wasn't really like kind of one player going off. I mean, Surefour I thought was great with the Widowmaker, able to put a lot of pressure on the Chips.
It didn't start well, though.
Yeah, it didn't start well. But then once they started to get going, there was nothing Sweden did to respond. It was really just started to all snowball out of control. I thought XQC had a very good Primal Rage use on, the first point, right? To force Chips all the way back. He killed Zebo. And then on the second point, just to keep it alive, he's with Mangachu and Agilities, who Agilities, it seemed like, was getting the better of Chips. I think that's really the key for me, is that Canada did a good job early in the fights figuring out where Chips is and putting a ton of pressure on him.
Credit to their tank play as well. We saw Mangachu now pretty much sit on that Diva for the entirety of the map. He was very, very good at nullifying enemy tanks. This is Short4 as well, does connect with Chips there. Again, Chips pulls out the blaster. He tries to AD, to step left, right, and left, but interesting decision there. But again, this is now where Short4 has the space. You can see that no one is putting him under any degree of scrutiny whatsoever.
Chips in that first one, I know, just looking at some of the numbers, the deaths at 9. Right, and then for Joe Meister, it's kind of the two players we've been comparing, is sitting at 4, right? So you had Canada do a nice job protect Joe Meister. A lot of the pressure going on to Chips at the beginning of these games, especially from Agilities in Short4. Sweden just needs to keep their mercy up.
Yeah, and you can see in that clip, the reason why Chips probably pulled out his pistol and tried to stand and deliver against Short4 is because the rest of his team had already engaged. They were on the other side of the shuttle. Chips is thinking, well, if I don't take this fight, it's going to be 10 seconds before I can get back to my team. I'm completely zoned out just by his presence enough.
There's no real other option for him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you got to understand why he chooses to do that. Obviously, he doesn't think he's going to win, but his options are very limited. He might get some extra ult percentage if he gets some damage done. Anyway, Canada going to be defending now as well. And, oh, Swoosh, careful there. Lives up to his name as he just misses the ledge. He's going to have to opt away from the dive. Perhaps that was all planned as well. There you go. Agilities is that kind of player, by the way. Historically, he's always been a big fan of using the Dragon Blade the moment that he gets it. Someone like Shadowburn's the opposite.
Yeah, Shadowburn much more passive with his blade usage. I mean, Agility's getting this blade so fast as well, already up to 60% towards it. So it's going to be the pressure coming in, though, from Sweden on the high ground. It'll be Short4 able to take out Snillo, so that's going to force Sweden to just wait a little bit. Now Zebazai playing the Widowmaker of his own. We'll see if he's able to find some kills onto Joe.
That was really nicely done there by Mangachu, jumping in to help XQC. I was just about to say this is why XQC doesn't love Winston right now, because it's so hard to deal with all this anti-tank damage. But Mangachu backed him up. Defense matrix is there, but speaking of damage and anti-tank, it's going to be Zebasai to pick off Mangachu there from the backside. So again, this big, bulky, beefy front line from Sweden is creating space for Zebasai, and he's more than happy. You can see the confidence in him coming forward, setting up in fairly aggressive positioning now, and now Canada, a huge risk even peeking out.
And Agilities is going to pop a Blade here, and they're going to come back strong. It's going to be Attack Visor, Blade, and Valkyrie coming out from both sides here as Canada looks to come out on top in this fight. So you did have to use your Valkyrie, you did have to use the Blade and Attack Visor, but look at some of the ults you forced down from the other team as well.
Agilities, no Dragon Blade. Short4, no Tactical Visor. Rolf is close to a Transcendence. That's definitely something to keep an eye on as this fight continues, because it will be needed to counter Tvix Dragon Blade if he can land it in a bunch of enemies. Agility's taken low there as well. You can see the healing didn't come for a while. There was a window of opportunity, a vulnerability there for Agilities, but he's able to get back to safety. Now Sweden must assess their options.
Well, I mean, it's kind of a downside of Sweden's comp right now is that they don't have another sustain ult, right? I mean, you have Chips with the Valkyrie, but if the Dragon Blade gets popped out, I mean, Agilities gets both of those dashes, you can get up to the sky, put a lot of pressure on it, Chips. It'll be Mangachu, takes out Tvik here. It'll be Snillo not having the Pulse Bomb, already used it. It's going to be the res used on his Evo side to keep him in.
That was a massive 1v1 between Snillo and Short4, by the way. We saw the opening of it. Snillo survived with a sliver of health, but XQC was sent there to deal with him. Could have been an opening. Sweden want to try and take that high ground, so this is a necessity. Snillo pressuring up on that ledge, walking up the stairs and trying to fight Short4. It's a tough fight to take, especially when the 76 has the burst available in the form of the Helix Rocket and the Biotic Field. So you need to really time it well if you're going to be a Tracer to go the 1v1. Speaking of, Zebasai taken very low by a Helix Rocket. He's out of position, but no, it's a double support pancake. Swoosh lands on top of Rolf and Joe Meister and takes them down. No healing whatsoever available for Canada here. What a huge play made by the Winston player here on Sweden.
That is such a monster play there from Swoosh. He's able to get onto both supports. Joe Meister has his Valkyrie. It would have been huge if he's able to stay up. The XQC and Short4 trying to keep this fight going. It's going to be Joe Meister popping the Valkyrie. You're going to bring XQC back into the fight. See if they can keep this one alive as Joe Meister getting pretty weak.
Yeah, Joe Meister's going to struggle to get away from this one. Swoosh was trained on him, laser focus. The Mercy's down, now up in the air. Primal Rage used. The jump, first one wasn't used for damage, just to stay alive. Now to push Mangachu away. The payload's being pushed close. It's going to get the first checkpoint. Nicely done. Sweden used Swoosh to push their enemy away in the same way that XQC did in this situation yesterday.
Oh, and you have Rolf here is going to fall. And he may have gotten that front spawn and just tried to run in there, just die right away instead of kind of falling
well, he
back.
died so early in that fight, remember, that was both supports going down. Sweden are on the run here. A little bit slower than Canada, though, it's safe to say. They are going to maintain that Widowmaker, so both teams respect the pressure that she can provide, especially here in the shuttle phase.
Well, we've seen Zebosai in the past on the Widowmaker on this map specifically have monster games. You can remember we did the DreamHack final last year. He was phenomenal on the Widowmaker in that series. Ran a triple DPS comp, pretty similar to what they're running right now. The great effect, it'll be the attack visor that comes in from Surefour, be the damage here, and just the pressure that T's putting on Zebosai from the high ground. Not going to allow Canada around the corner.
Yeah, Zebo has no sightlines now. He needs to relocate. This is slightly more dangerous for him as there's presence inside the shit. Oh, he doesn't actually land that shot, but now having him back away. And Surefour does go down. That was a little bit close for Zebo. Not an easy angle, of course, to find.
Now, Matt, it's going to be Zebosai getting very weak, down to 5 HP. Mangachu putting the pressure on him. Agilities uses the blade, cuts down 2. Canada needed to invest resources in it to keep this one alive. Coming into the next fight, Sweden, they'll have their Dragon Blade, they'll have their Pulse Bomb. No support ults on the side for Canada left.
There's such a sense of certainty about Agilities hitting these big Dragon Blades to save his team in these fights.
Well, for Canada, you're going to have your Valkyrie here, so you will have one support ult. We'll see if they can keep Joe Meister alive, get both of those rests off. Sweden will have their Valkyrie as well. It'll be Rolf getting an early pick here on his Zebosai, and now I think, I was going to say, it's a question, do you want to invest that res? And they do.
You gotta go. Sweden are behind in time. They really need to make the move very quickly. Agilities vaults over the top, looks for Snillo, decides against it now. Forced back away. His opposite number, Tvik, is back on his feet after being res by Chips, and now he's in his face. The reflects are there. Tvik manages to pick him up. I believe that was a reflect on the Shuriken. It's hard to tell from there, but Surefour now on the payload. Half HP. XQC being attended to right now, and then Rolf is going to get the res from Joe Meister. Zebo close, but trying to force away. The Pulse Bomb doesn't quite connect, and it's a very, very low swoosh. Finally taken down. This is looking bad for Sweden.
Yeah, and Rolf's going to use the Transcendence, and much earlier in the fight, Tvik uses his Dragon Blade, gets nothing for it, dies to the self-destruct of Mangachu. So they were trying to lead the way, Sweden, with the Valkyrie plus the Dragon Blade, really kind of keep Tvik up. Doesn't work out.
40 seconds left. This may well be the last fight coming up in a few moments, but in the meantime, so that Pulse Bomb from Surefour doesn't quite connect, but still manages to make that fight work in his favor. Good Transcendence, most importantly, to help them clean up safely. What we missed was just a little bit of back and forth stuff. Canada have lost Rolf here, not res. Joe Meister's now fallen down. Here's the opportunity Sweden have been looking for. They're into their last fight here. Mangachu up towards the shuttle there, just perching for a moment, looking for a target. Again, he's on his own. He needs to try and stay alive. He's split for the rest of his team. Agilities needs to try and save Canada yet again. Another Dragon Blade. Can he do it one more time? No, he cannot. Snillo finds him. Mangachu desuited now, forced to back away. Just a Bunning Blaster plinking away, but it's going to take a lot more than that to stop Sweden. They're pushing forward now. They're going to get the checkpoint in overtime. Or will they? XQC throws himself in, hooked in, and that'll going to be it. 1 minute 30 seconds. This is going to be a very close shave for the Swedes if they're going to finish, Matt.
Yeah, and Agilities uses the blade. He's able to get chips, just not enough players for Canada up to make a play on the point. Zebosai was forced to use that sound barrier, secure that for Sweden. Now for Sweden, you have your own Dragon Blade. You know both support ults were used on the side of Canada. We'll see how they decide to play this. Agilities getting very low, trying to back up towards his teammates, not going to make it out alive.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive. He thought he had Tvik dead to right there, but the healing was very good from Sweden. Not much you can do about that. Can't really deflect lightning. That's not how it works, unfortunately. Some realism in this game, at least. An XQC, that's a quick brace of 3. Fantastic cleanup by him, bouncing on top of Snillo to finish things off. Surefour cut down though. Managing forced to back away. Again, the XQC damage is there. Canada are getting aggressive now, trying to force Sweden back inside their hiding holes. And they bought themselves a little bit of room to breathe.
It's massive for Canada that they survived that Dragon Blade without having to use either of their support ults. Because now you're going to have the Transcendence, you're going to have your Valkyrie. Tvik switches off of the Genji. He's going to go over to the 76. Here comes the blade coming out from Agility. Slices through one, has Tvik running. He can't hide. Slices through his second. 2 kills there for Agilities. It's going to force Manitin off the side of the map. Yep. Canada does use their Valkyrie. They do use their Transcendence there. They did use a decent amount of ultimates. You have the Primal Rage to force players back. And Surefour does have that big Pulse Bomb.
5 seconds left to go. The last chance, the last stand for Sweden here to take this map back. Rolf's going to find Snillo, and that's a terrible start. It's diabolical and a nightmare for Sweden. Canada respond. They fire back across the Atlantic. It's going to be a map 5, and we couldn't be happier.
Canada will take us to another game 5. Agilities was tremendous on the Genji all match long. 55 kills, 29 final blows during that match.
Huge performance from him. This is great. Another 5 mapper. All we could have asked for and more. Let's head to a break, and then the final map. Only one of these two teams can advance to our World Cup Grand Final. Canada or Sweden? We'll find out after the break.
I will watch over you in my sights.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
And the fight to be king in the north comes all down to this. Of course, that's not all these two teams are looking for, representing their countries here in the World Cup. They want the gold. They're only going to get there through one another. It's 2-2 here between Sweden and Canada. We're going to Oasis, Matt.
Going into this game 5, I think for Canada, you keep agilities on the Genji. He's been tremendous on it when we've seen him run it. He was very good on the Roadhog when he was on it as well, but his Genji play, I believe last map, finishes with 17 Dragon Blade kills. Getting the Dragon Blade, it was on average of every minute and 3 seconds. Getting Dragon Blades literally every fight, putting so much pressure on Sweden.
That is significant. If you look at it in context of how slow these two teams were playing in a lot of those fights. Again, these two teams kind of like to approach each other with caution, identify each other's weaknesses, and then make informed decisions about how to best engage. But the Genji play has been absolutely sublime. We won't see it from Tvik this time, though. On Sweden, he's going to have a McCree, of course, with the Roadhog combined.
Well, obviously, you want the McCree for the side of Sweden to deal with the flankers of Canada. The issue is primarily we've seen Sherpa, you know, he's played a decent amount of Tracer during this series, but it's really been the 76 play. So now you have both flankers to deal with. It's going to be a little bit even harder for Tvik.
Not sure if I might have been caught off towards the side, and Mangachu gets hooked in again. He's got to respect the hook. He can't do anything to stop it coming through, and it's going to open him up to a lot of free damage. He doesn't quite find Zebasai with the micro rockets, but forces him out of position. Canada now looking strong. They're right in the middle of the action here, and they're making Sweden have to work around the sides for their next meal.
I like the way Mangachu is playing the Diva here, getting a little bit aggressive, using those rockets to put down a ton of damage, just flying right through, getting to the back line. It'll be Joe Meister resing XQC. He will fall, though, to be a self-destruct. Used here for Canada to take the point.
Yeah, but Canada, yeah, Sweden stay off the point for a little bit too long there. Canada, I've got to say, Mangachu and that Diva zoning so well. Great area control by Canada to force Sweden out and away and allow the point to be taken. Manatson, come back in on that Roadhog. It's going to be Shawfall here with a pulse bomb. So we're looking at this, going to see what he can make happen now. It's going to be backed up by the Transcendent, so we can get a little bit closer. Snillo found agilities. Manatson peeks out from the middle area there and tries to go for a whole hog. Now it's time for Sweden to try and take positional control. Nice work from Joe Meister, though. Slips in there, gets himself a res on agilities, but is dropped.
Well, Joe Meister uses his Valkyrie here to bring agilities back into the fight. No, totally worth it. He takes out 4 with a Dragon Blade. I was like, oh, this is so risky. And then you bring agilities back, and oh, just cuts through Sweden. A huge play from agilities yet again.
As sure as the sun rises and sets each day, in Sweden, of course, at very different times, sometimes very briefly, agilities finds himself a huge amount of kills on that Dragon Blade. You can really count on this man to shine when it really matters. So good at identifying opportunities to make the best use of that ultimate ability. But now, the way has been paved, but there's more work to be done. Zebasai drops down and is rezzed immediately now by Chips. They need that extra healing available. They need the potential for another Transcendence in the coming fights. But XQC, look at that, it's going to be 2 Winstons fighting it out there. You can see XQC wants to find Swoosh while Swoosh is trying to avoid him in general. Primal Rage, times out. He's taken down by Managin. A couple quick shots on the Roadhog here to lay Canada low.
Canada's going to be able to stall this out a little bit longer, though. They have their own Transcendence, keeping some players alive onto the point. Sherborne lands a big pulse bomb onto Manitin, and Sweden has not been able to get anything going. 85% in counting in favor of Canada. Canada will have another Dragon Blade. Zebasai will have that Transcendence for Sweden.
One more fight for Sweden now to try and take this back into their control. Again, that Transcendence, like you said, Matt, is going to be absolutely paramount. The use of it needs to be very clever. Chips high and coming forward now. Transcendence actually used just to start the fight, so Sweden know you can see them want to come forward. Shortfall just wants to take a sidebar for the moment here, and agilities, they're disengaging to prevent the healing from being effectively used. Agility goes in, he gets just one. Zebasai falls down. Looks like there's no res forthcoming. There it is though. Chips brings him back up on his feet. Still 2 healers available for Sweden, and Shortfall's close to a pulse bomb. Agilities is rezzed out by Joe Meister there. Fell during his Dragon Blade, and XQC joins him. Shortfall drops it. Tvic's going to be there now. You can see Joe just trying to stay alive over the action. It's getting pretty hot to handle for the Mercy down there. Eventually, he'll need to meet his fate and help the rest of his team. Agility stands tall. What a back and forth fight. Both Mercies going for multiple reses over it. Difficult to keep track of, but you can see that Canada are just a step ahead.
Canada 1 point away here in Game 5 from going to our gold medal match. I know we talked a lot about agilities on Team Canada, Mangachu, some of the Surefour and the tanks, but there's somebody who I think has had an excellent series has been Rolf. How many fights have we seen with Rolf on the Zenyatta where he's able to get a pick early that forces the res out of Chips? He did it there on Oasis, the first point. He did it on the first map. He's had a very good series, has Rolf.
As strong as Mercy's Resurrected is in its current state, both teams have them. And getting those forced out early on is a very good omen and a very good way to begin a fight. Here we go though. 1-0 for Canada. Again, a win here will take them straight to that final one. Mangachu's up on that Pharaoh. This is Big Vic, was known for being a Pharaoh. He was the player that managed to save Rogue in the first APAC that actually beat Lunatic High, one of the only Western teams to do so in recorded Overwatch history. His Pharaoh's going to have to step up to the plate though, because this man is deadly.
Mangachu's put down some good damage. Chips forced to use the res on Manitin on the point. The res already out from Rolf though. It'll be Tvik getting the better of the Pharah bottles. As Tvik will take out Rolf as well. So now it looks like Sweden will take control of this point first. We'll see how Canada responds.
Clean opening here from Sweden. Again, the Pharaoh Mercy play is something that we will be scrutinizing for the duration of this map, because it is the centerpiece of both these teams' compositions. Tvik will now just set up over on that platform, and again, Canada, we're going to have Mangachu coming in over the top there. He's kind of off camera, you can see him here, so he's very high up, very close to the skybox here. He just wants to get himself the 2v2, but Tvik wins it out again, gets that second rocket in. That's nasty. Mangachu's really been kept under the thumb here.
Yeah, and Manitin's going to take out Surefour and XQC, so the push falls apart for Canada. Tvik has been huge here for Sweden. It's going to force a change that comes through for Canada. You're going to have Mangachu switch over to the D.Va here. Surefour will move over to the 76. And the thing that's interesting here is, we've seen Joe Meister play a lot of the Mercy for this Canada roster. Rolf, most likely on the Zen, but because you want to run the Lucio here, you're going to have Joe run that. So a little bit of a change of roles here towards the end of the match.
Yeah, both teams doing that. Getting position so important on this map. Agility's Dragon Blade hasn't found key targets yet. Just slicing as he comes down. More so just adding damage to the pile here than actually finding a bunch of kills, but it's a good start. Manitin now is going to be reflected most of his whole hog. He's forced to turn away and look the other direction, and Agility's is more than happy to take the big target presented on that large back. It's going to be the rest of Sweden fighting over this point. What a turnaround in this particular stage. 67 to 0%. Snillo and Swoosh step up at the end of the fight here, and Mangachu forced to kiss the ring, switching off that Pharaoh to the Diva. Now he just needs to make sure he can help the rest of his team prevent this damage.
Yeah, Chips was using the Valkyrie there to keep everybody healed up on the point. So Sweden will also have their sound barrier for this next fight. Canada, they have the luxury of having both support ults, but if they don't deal with Tvik, it probably won't matter.
Great to see Tvik on his Pharaoh now. It's going to be time to really shine here. Canada had to retake control, and the sound barrier was well placed because agilities would have been taken down by that rocket from Tvik. He now tries to get out of the way, but Mangachu goes down. No chance to resuit. That's really got to add insult to injury here, and he's trying to get back in that suit, and he does. He resuits up. Joe Meister boops Manton off the side. No, actually took him down with the boot kill. He does get res though, so lucky he wasn't killed environmentally. Dragon Bait from agilities, 1 and 2, looking for more, and he's found it. Manton goes down. That's the third for agilities once again. With the abilities keeping Canada up alive in this particular round, they can take it from here. I've seen crazier things, Matt.
It'll be the point going over to Canada. It's a large mountain to climb, though. They find themselves down 99-0. Now they get control of the point. You had to use all your ultimates in that previous fight to win it. Sweden, you'll be close to a Valkyrie. You have a whole hog. You have a pulse bomb. You're going to get a rocket barrage. They have all the tools to make this happen.
Yeah, it's crunch time for Canada now. They need to be able to just like just deal with the flow of these ultimates coming towards them. XQC, you ain't even going to get to touch the ground, son. May as well head back to the moon at this rate. Manton's dealt with that key tank on the side of Canada, but that's not the whole job done yet. Looking for another hook target. They get the high ground. Sweden can't contest the point from that bridge. They will need to drop down eventually, but Snillo has been doing all the work so far. The hook there for Manton was largely just a formality and not even required. Sweden looks like they're going to take it back. The barrage from Tvik deals with Mangachu, and that should be job done. Point going to be swung back in favor. XQC trying to camouflage himself amongst the foliage. Doesn't quite work out there, and it will be flipped to Sweden. Now overtime, a chance, an attempt. Joe Meister running towards the point. It's like chariots of fire, but it's not enough.
There was nothing really Canada could do there towards the end. There were so many ultimates up for Sweden. They just roll on in, take the point with relative ease. So now we will have 1 point to decide it all. These teams are so evenly matched. Sweden, a lot of people thought last year they were going to be a team that made the finals. Can they do it this year?
So many people had this match pegged as not nearly being as close as it was.
Yeah.
A lot of people had extreme faith in Sweden because their performance over their opponents, the UK, was dominant. However, Canada's over Australia was not. They had to reverse sweep to get themselves here. So people's expectations were perhaps skewed by those results, and a good amount of direct hits there for Tvik, 20%, spreading a lot of that damage over, but more importantly, he was the dominant Pharaoh.
And Canada's going to bring the Pharah Mercy out yet again. It'll be Agility's running the Pharah here. And Sweden really has nothing to deal with it. I mean, they have the Junkrat and they have Tracer. It's going to be Agility's just putting down a ton of free damage.
This was the exact map, by the way, in the tiebreaker that Canada managed to take Russia down on to get themselves into the finals in Poland. It was this map where Canada had Mangachu on Pharaoh, but Agility's now is stepping up to the plate. They have that level of flexibility. Let's see if it works, because Tvik has been taking a chunk out of Canada with this Junkrat.
And what do you do? I mean, you see Manton looking up at the sky at Agility's. Agility's able to take out Chips. Joe Meister brings XQC back into the fight. Agility's just getting so much free damage down from up above. It'll be Canada taking the point.
XQC's map earlier on was phenomenal. That Gibraltar performance from him was mercurial. Right now, he has second place, I think, in terms of those eliminations, so he's getting involved in these fights, but it's Agility's this time. He is the man of the moment. This map has been incredible from him. 30 eliminations, almost double the next person behind him.
Tvik is going to switch off of the Junkrat right away. He knows he needs to deal with Agility. It's not a lot of time. You know, you stay one more life on the Junkrat, it doesn't work. You're going to be behind the 8 ball for Sweden. Surefour trying to put pressure behind enemy lines. It's going to be a rocket barrage trying to locate Chips. Not able to get him.
There's the respect here from Tvik, switching over towards the McCree to try and deal with Agilities, and the hit scan pressure seems to work out. Agilities actually kills himself there. The rocket explodes back in his face, but the backfiring ends there. The rest of the job for Canada seems to be done well. It's an artisan's tapestry. Now the last few strokes are being applied. Surefour making sure he rubs it in. And Sweden know who Daddy really is.
Canada use their Valkyrie, though. You'll have a Transcendence. For Sweden, you're going to have your own Valkyrie, you're going to have a grab, you're going to have a Pulse Bomb. Let's see if they can land that big bang combo. You get Manton to drop a big fat grab, you get Snill to get from behind, land a Pulse Bomb. It's Agilities, though, still on the far.
Ooh, good flash.
Good flash there from Tavik. Takes out Sherfor, not in a position he can get a res off. There's going to be the grab. The pulse bomb comes through as well.
Yeah, it doesn't really seem to have a huge impact, though. Snillo tries to stick it inside the Graviton Surge, but the job seems to already have been done. The extra damage maybe wasn't needed. Tavik now having a chance to run riot here. He's going to get pressured down by Agilities. Whoa, what a match! But Zeverside was on the low ground, picks him off with a few more orbs, and Sweden get back in control. 80% to Canada. It's a huge mountain to climb.
If you're Canada, I was going to say, if you're Canada, do you stay on the far? I was going to say, I would have loved to see him bring out the Genji yet again. When Tavik went over to the McCree, what did they do the last time? They put a ton of pressure on him with Sherfor on the Tracer, Agilities on the Genji, and it worked out quite well.
Oh, that's nasty. Agilities couldn't do much about that. He found Stiller, though, as well. Managed to find him with that headshot, so it's a 1-for-1. Good flash. Agilities is down. That's the headshot we were looking for. Tavik manages to work it out. Now the pressure forward. Transcendence being used for Sweden to get in position and force Canada away. They're not going to allow them to walk through the open gate this time, and Rolf better respect the hit scan pressure. Sweden want to try and chase down, and they do. But maybe not too far for now. There's too much at stake.
For Sweden, you're going to have a Deadeye, you're going to have Pulse Bomb, most likely another grab for this next fight. The scary part is you have no support ults, you're nowhere close. Chips 5 to Valkyrie. Zeverside 13 building up towards Transcendence.
It's a window opportunity.
Canada is going to have a huge window here. You're going to have your Valkyrie, you're going to get very close to a Dragon Blade, and you're going to have your Transcendence.
Both tanks jump in, the Graviton response from Sweden here. The entirety of Canada has been tied together, but only one falls. The Deadeye only connects with Sherfor. Magnitude did actually get desuited in the progress, and Joe Meister gets the res on towards Sherfor to keep him back fighting. Agility's down. These DPSs for Canada are struggling to stay alive, but Agilities gets a second chance, a stay of execution, another bite of the apple, and he meant to make it work, and he does. He's found Chips after getting res. Sherfor's there on towards Spick now. Switch getting burst down very quickly. Needs to get back towards the rest of his team, and the Transcendence now is being delivered from Sweden. They need the healing, and now almost a half-time break in this fight as Sherfor finds Zeverside after it comes out of that Transcendence. Rolf is getting closer to his. He needs a little bit more, though. Sherfor's there. 3 kills for Sherfor. It's 91% to 80 in Canada. Switch it back. This is getting very tight.
Canada has the self-destruct. They have a Pulse Bomb here. Agilities, the way he's been building up towards a Dragon Blade, most likely gets it as well. Sweden, no support ult, no attack visor here. They have nothing. It's just the Pulse Bomb. Last chance here.
Chance, saloon for Sweden to come back. Canada are so close. It's 99%. When you know it's going to be Zeverside getting rezzed up, but Sherfor found the pick. Oh! Zeverside gets rezzed only to die again. Great pulse from Sherfor. He stays alive. Tvik manages to get rid of Agilities, but it's going to take more than that. Snillo is out of the picture. Manchester gets desuited and taken out. Overtime is ticking down. Sweden, where are they? They're trying to jump on towards the point. They're rushing in, but Canada, they put the flag in the ground. The North belongs to the Maple Leaves.
Canada goes clutch. You see it on their faces. That series took so much out of them. Tremendous performance as Canada, they'll find themselves in the gold medal match. Agilities was nuts all series long.
That's it for Sweden. They're out. Canada are going to advance. We've got more to talk about after the break when we meet with the desk. For now, though, we'll see you in a bit.
Mercy hurt, Mercy won, Mercy dead.
Soldier!
What's rest? Okay. It's just
Tracer dead.
Let's go! One more round! One more round! Come on, just Agilities. He's inside! He's inside!
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Congratulations to the one true Kings of the North. They are going to the finals. Unbelievable. And I think I speak for every single American citizen in here that we have adopted Canada to then go on and win the Overwatch World Cup as our brethren of North America. There we go. North America. We will go ahead and take that. Jokes aside, though, what a game. Went the distance. James, I'm going to start with you, my friend, because there were some crazy moments in that game.
I mean, there were different brilliance of moments coming out from everyone on the side of Team Canada. We saw Joe Meister being able to play a lot better because he had the support from the rest of his team, agilities in particular with that Roadhog early on. And then later, it became the agilities and Surefour show.
I think what was very interesting to me was for Canada, the tank gameplay wasn't actually as lopsided as you might have thought, where you take a look at how Canada play with that. XQC had moments of pure dominance, particularly on Gibraltar, but what strikes out to me is how Sweden struggled to dominate with Swoosh and Manitin, where Swoosh oftentimes was a little bit far out, got picked off quite heavily. And then you had Manitin, where Manitin went silent on Hog to some extent. And because of that, I think you saw Agility suddenly have a lot more room to play with. And of course, you take a look at the stats here for Agilities, it tells the tale.
I mean, what was crazy about that, we just saw it, was Agilities on the Pharah. Had you told me, and you said this, but it made so much sense, and I'm stealing it from you, buddy. Had you told me that Agilities would have played the Pharah and not Mangachu, I would have been like, you're crazy. That's what Mangachu does. But a credit to Mangachu for filling the roles where necessary. Although he did play Pharah, he didn't have the performance that he would have liked to have had on it. His Diva play, though, pretty solid. It's what it was, you know, good for them to be able to take advantage of there. Not necessarily something that you go home with, right? But it was enough at that point to get them over the finish line. That being said, CP, it's whether or not it's France or South Korea, what are some of the things that Canada needs to button up going into that final matchup?
Well, things they need to button up for sure is definitely, I think, how they're running their compositions at the beginning was still somewhat of a good look for them. I do think if Agilities can play Genji the way he was playing there, run more of that. But otherwise, just note that they did have difficulty keeping Joe alive at points where it's still somewhat of a rough area for them. Protect that. And let Surefour run defensive Tracer more, because that is one of the better performances we've seen from a Tracer in that situation, where I would throw it back to Hanamura, right? Where even though Canada did not win Hanamura, you had 4 solid minutes of Surefour almost single-handedly disrupting the Sweden offense. And from there on out, it felt like there were moments of brilliance from Surefour, whether it be on Tracer, Widowmaker after a little bit of a rough start. He was playing great, so put Surefour in situations to succeed.
You basically just want more Surefour, right?
Yeah, I'm sure of it.
I totally agree. But you know what I want more of? It's T-Mobile. That's right. I went there. I did it. No shame. That being said, guys, we want to get out there and vote. If you're in the Twitch chat, you can use !T-Mobile MVP in the battle tag of the player that you're rooting for to be the MVP on Twitter. It's the same thing there as well. It's going to be #T-Mobile MVP and the battle tag of the player there as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at the leaderboard now and see if anything has changed. It hasn't. Okay, well that's that.
Well, I was back in the running, by the way. So I went onto Reddit, and apparently, so when you put in the battle tag, they forgot that Flower's name actually has a 0 in it. So they were putting in the wrong vote. So already Flower's at 17% after that, already catching up to XQC.
You know what though? XQC for the vote, it makes he's been playing really well, and they're in the finals. So you know that's not bad, right?
I mean, it looks like it's going to be shaping up to South Korea versus Canada at this point. XQC versus Flower. We'll see who comes out on top.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, my friend, because that being said, we have a great matchup coming up next. The final game to decide who will go to the grand finals. This is it. It all comes down to this for France, but for South Korea, it's an opportunity for them to continue to exercise their dominance. Don't go anywhere. France versus South Korea coming at you live after this.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Flower, this guy.
Probably one of the best players in the world.
He is literally able to play every hero to its full extent.
He just decimates people.
Flower's incredibly aggressive and not afraid to take fights with the very best.
I mean, I really don't know what he can't do.
It's so many of those. Oh, three-man riptire from Flower.
Flower is the biggest all-rounder Overwatch has.
He has this enormous hero pool to draw from, and he can make game-changing plays on each of these heroes.
He's just this really versatile player with insane mechanics.
This guy could play anything and just be a god at it.
지켜봐야 될 것 같은데 그중에 좀 유독 눈에 띌 것 같은 선수는 제가 봤을 때는 플라워 선수. 이제 모든 영웅을 기용하면서 아마 많이 사람들이 열광을 하게.
Right now, Flower with the barrage. Oh boy! Comes in from behind and he takes out two before.
So many different tricks up his sleeve.
He's very excited about his Junkrat specifically.
His Junkrat was amazing, and he was preaching to everyone that he had this crazy Junkrat strat, and that Junkrat is viable now.
데미지가 굉장히 세요. 그리고 기동력이 나쁜 것도 아니에요. 그리고 지금 유행하는 돌진 메타, 다이브 메타를 상쇄시킬 수 있는 그런 이 중요하죠. 예. 한 나라를 대표하는 자리에서 우승한다는 건 좀 많이 연습해줬으면 좋겠습니다.
Welcome back, everyone, to the desk here as we get ready for our second semi-final matchup to determine who will face off against the Canadians in our gold medal game. I'm Golden Boy, joined by my partner in crime, Jameson, and now this is just getting ridiculous at this point, but it is Achilleos here.
How's it going? Glad to be back here on the desk. You know, I'm just getting prepared for dinner. I have my bib, my fork, and my knife. I'm ready to dine into some fantastic French cuisine, Golden Boy. It's going to be a wonderful meal for South Korea.
You know, that sounds very violent. I don't know. I like. It's
they're going to be devoured.
It's.
In fact, you know, I don't really need this bib. I think it's going to be pretty clean at the end of the day. 3-0 to South Korea. If I can actually get this damn thing off my neck.
You practiced it so well. Clearly.
I did. I threw this all together in like 10 seconds before I walked on the desk. There we go.
James, do you have anything to add at that point? Because I don't think anyone can, but.
I mean, he's saying it's going to be a clean 3-0, but we saw it was anything but yesterday in their matchup against Team USA, and they did expose some of the weaknesses on the side of South Korea. We got to see Jake with that Junkrat be able to play such a disruptive style, especially using those concussive mines to really move around the tank line of South Korea and not allow Sebelby to really go off on that Tracer. He did eventually later on, as Jake wasn't able to just stay on that Junkrat, but that is a weakness that they can't expose.
Yeah, and speaking of the matches that we saw yesterday, let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket to see where we are now. Basically, at this point in time, with France and South Korea, you had that 3-2 victory there with Sweden versus Canada. Sweden will fall. Canada will be going to the gold medal match, and Sweden will be playing in the bronze medal match there. For those of you guys who just tuned in, it was actually a really good game. I mean, Achilleos, I didn't get a chance to ask you. Any thoughts on that last game?
You know, a lot of people were saying that it was going to be Sweden taking it very convincingly. 3-0, 3-1 is what I was kind of hearing from everybody. But I actually said I think that Canada could actually make the run. I think that they could do it.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with the result. I'm glad that they were able to come out on top. And I mean, there's some fantastic plays from both sides. To Vic trying to pop off and really bring the team back in. But ultimately, I mean, they came out on top. That Junkrat play at the beginning on Nepal was just beautiful from Canada.
Yeah, it was very impressive stuff. Now, though, I mean, I think everyone looks at it, and I'm assuming, James, everyone on the community or in the community are already saying, well, it's going to be South Korea versus Canada in the finals for the gold medal match. My thoughts here, it's like I feel like everyone's writing out France quickly, and I don't think they should. You brought up a really good point before about how the United States kind of showed some of the cracks in the armor of South Korea. We were talking about it extensively yesterday, and this France team was considered to be one of the best squads in the world. So give me some high-level thoughts here on how you feel France can perform in this matchup.
I want to say that France has the same tools that the U.S. brought in their matchup against South Korea when we saw them face off against China yesterday, right? You're going to have Soon on that Tracer. He should be able to deal with Sebiobi, and if not, AKM, going on to that Junkrat should also be able to provide that extra support to really shut down Sebiobi. Now, the thing is, if this does grind out into a 4 or 5 mapper, that's where I kind of question, France's endurance at that point.
That's very true, right? You saw it happen yesterday as well. Does South Korea have that endurance to be able to go the distance? Because they also looked a little drained. The team was kind of on the back there of Flower at some points, which is crazy to think when you see the talent that's on that South Korean team at Kilios.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was rougher from them yesterday, but I mean, you talk about having the same tools that the USA has, but they have the same tools, they have the same roster that this team had actually when they were competing under the name Rogue in the Apex Season 3 Championship out in South Korea, and they did not find much success. Their record was 1-2. They only won 1 series versus Mighty AOD, which was one of the weaker teams in Korea at the time. So it wasn't a fantastic showing from these guys. So with this roster, they haven't had much success around Koreans, which is why I think that they could still go down here. Realistically, is it going to be a 3-0? I actually do not think so. I think that they could take a game or 2 here and make this rather competitive, but I do still expect South Korea to persevere at the end of the day.
All right. Well, folks, I know you all are eagerly anticipating it. We're going to get into the game in just a little bit. But for those of you just joining us, your next matchup is going to be France versus South Korea in our second semifinal game of the day to determine who will face off against Canada in our gold medal match. Now, Kilios, you have a lot of experience with this South Korean team. You cast them at OGN back in Korea. We talked extensively about Flower and Sebiobi, but we haven't really talked much about the tanks. I kind of want to get your thoughts here because I kind of feel like, it's always about the DPS, always about, the guys who go out there and do the damage. Why don't you tell me about these tanks in the South Korean side?
So a lot of people were actually kind of shocked when the South Korean roster was announced that Miro wasn't a part of the squad. We have Mono coming in alongside Zumba to be that tanky front line, but it was really Mono with the Reinhardt that kind of was the deciding factor. Miro did not have the most stellar. He was one of the best Winstons, if not the best, in the world and in Korea, but Mono offered up the Reinhardt. And then we saw, South Korea come up with this Phalanx composition, using the Zarya, the Reinhardt, bringing those back into the forefront of their games, and then backing them up with just hard-hitting DPS such as the Reaper and the McCree, so it just becomes an impenetrable line that no team can pierce.
Making their way to the stage is South Korea, the defending champions from last year's 2016 Overwatch World Cup. There you see the roster: Flower, Toby, Ray Jae-hong, Zumba, Mono, and Sebiobi. I happen to be a big fan of Sebiobi because he'll be playing for the NYXL. So, as a New Yorker, thanks, man. This guy, though, and this roster, I should say, all together, incredible stuff that we've seen out of them, incredible grit that we've seen out of them thus far. James, on the other side, though, they're going to be meeting up against a team in France that said on the record, that winning BlizzCon, winning the Overwatch World Cup, that's all well and good. That's nice. But the real objective, the real goal, is to defeat South Korea. So, France.
I think that's the case for every Blizzard title, basically, here at BlizzCon, right? StarCraft, we want to beat the Koreans. Heroes, we want to beat the Koreans. I believe this time, Heroes only have 2 Korean teams in the top 8. So that is always the ultimate goal here for BlizzCon. But even more so, as already in the early infancy stages, Korea's already come out to a dominant start here. But if any team can do it, it's got to be these guys, Rogue. They've been around, France, for so long competing together. Now, Achilles did mention that, they did have a difficult start in Apex, but since then, it's been a long time.
That's right, and the French have arrived to the stage here in Anaheim, California. Smiles on their faces, they get ready for their matchup against South Korea. There's the roster: Wins, Unco, Soon, Nox, AKM, and Nico. Well, all the talk has been said, all the conversation can be had. Let's talk keys to victory and predictions. Achilleos, keys to victory and your predictions.
I mean, honestly, you know, obviously, like, Flower was such a crucial part of South Korea's victory yesterday, but Saebyeolbe kind of went as a bit of an unsung hero because he was really reining in Sinatra and constantly keeping him busy with that Tracer 1v1 and hounding him down, keeping him away from, you know, the back line, away from Toby, away from Ryu Jae-hong. So I think that you really have to try to handle and wrestle with both of these DPS players on the side of Korea, which is a very arduous task that France has to take up. AKM is a fantastic DPS player. If he can bring out something like the Soldier 76 and contain Saebyeolbe, maybe even pop him with the Helix rockets, they might be able to have some success there. But it's just such a difficult position to be in because you kind of have to control all of Team Korea at once rather than just being able to target out one single player.
So you just give me a number, prediction.
3-1.
3-1, South Korea. James, what about for you?
3-1, South Korea.
And thoughts on France, though? Do you think they have a chance here?
They definitely do have a chance, and Seth brought up a great point,
They have
right?
a chance to go 1-3.
Well, AKM, we saw his Soldier 76 was fantastic, but we also saw that his McCree, when he busted it out, I believe it was on Numbani up against Leave yesterday, was able to shut down Leave, who was having a fantastic Tracer game all series long. So I feel like they do still have the tools to deal with it, whether it's with the Junkrat, whether it's with the 76, or even a McCree.
All right, well, the time for talk is over. Maybe it's time to get into the game. Let's make some noise. Let's make the roof explode here in South Korea versus France. Let's send it over to Doha in Monte Cristo.
Hey guys, Doha in Monte Cristo here at BlizzCon 2017, France versus China, another BlizzCon Overwatch World Cup semi-final match, and this one should be fun, man. I think France really performed better than we expected yesterday against China. We knew they had that team cohesion, but in the group stages, it just felt like in Shanghai there was so much more they could have done, and I felt like they really brought that yesterday.
Yeah, you can really see that this team is going for that last shot at glory. They have so much experience playing together, and speaking of that experience, you could tell how much these guys have played professionally yesterday. The mental fortitude in that overtime push on Junkertown versus China was one of the most exciting things we've seen here at this Overwatch World Cup. And we talk about this roster, legends of France like Wins here today to play.
That's right. Speaking of legends, though, man, we have Jae-hong on South Korea, legend in the making, certainly, in Overwatch esports. And we're already getting things started here on Nepal in the university. And I can't wait to see what Flower can do today. Whoa, forget that. The support's fragging out early on, man. Toby has to bring back Mano, but a good start for South Korea right off the bat.
And that is so aggressive by this Korean side. They push directly through the point and chase them back towards their spawn, getting the picks and taking them as many other kills as they can before backing off for the caps. So they will have the early percentage on the board right now. Saebyeolbe on the side looking for possible flank opportunities, zoned out of the door a little bit by some pre-firing.
Yep, that's right. You know, Golden Boy, you know, he likes Saebyeolbe because he's on New York, but he forgot Mano's on that team too, man. I thought you wanted to talk about the tanks, Golden Boy. Forget your boy Mano. Saebyeolbe sneaking around, takes out the trap. I never spot those in my games. Saebyeolbe does, though. Meanwhile, Toby has to bring back Mano again. He got a bit too deep. Unko goes down, though. Flower gets 4. No, 3 with the dash and the Diva suit. Are you kidding me? Okay, well,
he's just going to stand there and look cool right there.
He had to take that on for a second. He's like, you know, I dashed over here, but I really should enjoy the view. All right, let's check this one out. Comes through, and there's the slash, man. Gets a bunch right there. And then it's like, maybe I should buy a boat.
Just posing for style after that.
Why not?
He was accepting some contract bonuses, I think.
I think so. That's right. It's like, hold on, I got to make deposit some checks here, guys. Well, France striking back right away, though. 2 kills already as they try to flip this point. We'll see what they can do. Nox popping that Primal Rage. It's working out pretty well as we watch Saebyeolbe just try to stay alive, but nope, not going to happen for him. And unless Mano can hold this on, yeah, I think that's wise to save the Primal Rage. Let the point flip. You've got 70% if you're South Korea already. You can take some time and come back strong.
Yeah, we do see AKM, of course, switching over to the Pharah as well, trying to play that hero that he is, you know, pretty well known for on this particular map.
Yeah.
And soon we'll find Flower, who has himself changed over to that McCree.
Interesting. All right. Well, Toby brings him back up again. AKM, meanwhile, trying to guard that corner. Not going to last very long, though, is South Korea, man. They are not wasting any time in trying to flip this point right back again. Nico on his own, but he tracks down Flower. Can he get the kill? Maybe, no, not quite. Zunba finishing him off with his own diva. And South Korea is going to grab it right back. Only 32% for France in that hold so far.
And how far are they going to push this forward? They have the Deadeye for a big zone potentially coming off of spawn, but they're going to play more defensively, wait for them to get onto the point. They know it is desperation time right now for France. AKM has the barrage, but no other ults available or even really close for France.
That's right. Here we go, Nox coming in early. Oh, gets nailed by the flashbang, though. Has to try to get out. He's low health here. AKM with the barrage. Gets the kill on Flower. Flower, though, brought back up immediately by Toby. But France ahead in this fight for the moment. We'll see if maybe South Korea can turn it around. Flower needing to play very defensively around these walls. And yeah, he's going to have to back away. I think South Korea looking like they might need to reset here.
France did a good job with the one tool they had available.
Yeah.
AKM soared over the top of everyone and over the top of the Transcendence to get an angle for that barrage and take out the threat to him, which is Flower on this McCree.
That's right. There's a Deadeye. Looking for some. No, he gets Uncle and AKM. The pharmacy is closed, and South Korea is going to take this one right back, and they're already at 99% here. If they can flip it, it's pretty bad for France in round one. Looks like they will, and can France even get back to the point in time?
Doesn't
Don't
look
think
like
so.
it. And Ox is going to try and get there, but he's not going to have the opportunity.
Wow. So South Korea having to give up that point for a little bit in this first round, but overall doing quite well right out of the gate here.
I'm impressed by France too, though, especially on that last push. Playing around a single far ult is very difficult, especially when you have to be stationary against a target like McCree. But one of the things that AKM does with Pharah, he plays this dive Pharah. He typically scoots pretty low to the ground and tries to get into the backlines up close and personal. So he plays it a bit differently than many other players choose to play that hero. So it can be a bit deceiving.
Yeah, that's right. Nerve Korea. Well, people have been trying to do that for a long time, my friend. I'm sorry. USA came about as close as we've seen anyone in recent history. And here we go on to City Center. South Korea, if they win this one, they will take Nepal. Toby looking to take the high ground here as France is there. Going to see if he can dislodge him maybe.
And we're going to see mirror composition. Pretty standard for City Center to have the Pharah. Of course, sometimes you can go with that Genji instead. Flower's going to start things off with a neat pick onto Unko, but there should be a res onto Flower. Actually not.
Well, maybe not. I mean, it looks like he couldn't get to him safely. Yeah, Nico does take down Jaehong, so France, pretty good start here. It's a bit of a brawl, but Zunba taking down Nox may be enough to kind of flip this back in South Korea's favor for the moment. Yeah, it looks like they're barely going to hold on in this fight. AKM kind of on his lonesome, and there's a flying space gorilla. You never expect that one. Actually, maybe you do if you watch enough Korean Overwatch. Yeah. To say
just when you think you're safe.
Yeah, we did see Mano go off the map to smack down somebody last map in Primal Rage.
That was pretty good.
Yep. Miro is here in spirit, guys.
Flower just gonna take a couple long rockets, see if he can chunk them out while they're coming in. AKM might be Pharah hunting yet again.
Could be. As far as hunting each other. Right now, yeah, but Nico, or rather Nox, decides to get involved for the moment, forcing Flower back for the moment. Nox kind of on his own. Meanwhile, that point is getting flipped. The control meter 2/3 full for France. Soon does take down Mano. It's looking a little bit better, and yeah, with Zimba falling as well, this might be a good opportunity for France here.
Yeah, France really excelled at focusing Jaehong at the start of that fight, getting him low so he had to float out of the battle, which put him out of position to res Mono when he died. So that was able to snowball the fight for France. Jaehong, you know, we was like out with 25 HP, so couldn't actually risk being involved in that engagement. And as a result, France will take the advantage and start building up that control percent for themselves.
Oh, that was a great stagger too on Jaehong at the very end. You know, in a way, if Mercy ends up being the last person alive on the team in a fight, you can kind of treat her like that pilot diva and just not let her go back and die to respawn quicker.
Yeah, you definitely can.
Stall that one out a little bit. South Korea trying to attack on a couple fronts here. Sabilby on the side, fighting that duel with Soon. It's dangerous to play in traffic, guys. You got to be careful. Ooh, that's close. Soon force a recall first. Sabilby gets the health pack, I believe. Yeah, he's going to grab it now. The duel continues. Meanwhile, Unko does bring AKM back up again. He was taken out by Flower in air to air, and Mano comes in. He's like, we don't have time for this, guys. We got to switch the point over. 50% here for France. They have pulled into the lead as Nox bats around Toby and sets up a kill for AKM. France looks like they're going to hold on to this for the moment, but Jaehong and Valkyrie brings a couple back. Either way, though, South Korea, oh, never mind. Just what I was about to say. They need to back off. They get a couple kills.
Yeah, points
Maybe
still,
it's enough.
Yeah, points still not flipping, though. And that Tracer duel, Sabielby stayed in there for longer than we typically see.
I can fly. No. Run. Oh, Jaehong finished him off with the thunder support. That has got to be the most embarrassing way to fare to die. All right, you have a jetpack, and you were just knocked around by a monkey and then finished off by Mercy. That one's got to hurt a bit. That one stinks.
Some good teamwork, though, to corral him back towards the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And now Mano going to be lurking on the high ground here. Not a lot to use. AKM will have the barrage up very soon.
Pretty much. Mano dropping back down for the moment, trying to secure that central pillar. Oh, two Winstons electrocuting each other. That's a pleasant sound. Nico does take down Toby. Mano in a lot of trouble here. He's super low. Sabielby manages to finish off Noxo at the pulse bomb, and Jaehong gets the Mano just in time to keep him up. He was so low HP-wise, and now Unko in a little bit of trouble. One more jump may do it, but the sound barrier gonna try to keep France alive for just a little bit longer. South Korea, though, getting closer and closer to 99%, and Sabielby getting a little bit of health back with that recall. He's gonna have to duck out and give the point over for the moment, though.
Yeah, that res on AKM proved crucial, getting him back up and able to finish off Zunba and start to swing the fight in France's favor. Soon sitting on a pulse bomb, but we are very close to Jaehong and Toby both having their ultimates up, and having two support ultimates going to be perhaps a defining factor as we head into this overtime here on City Center.
And this point has been so close, 99% for France already. South Korea needs to get on there, and that's exactly what they're doing. Half the control meter filled right now as Zunba tosses out the self-destruct. No kills from that, though. Unko has to bring back Nico after the kill from Mano. But so far, everybody playing pretty evasively. AKM wins the Farah duel against Flower, though. Jaehong forced to pop one of his reses for that one. And now Nox with the Primal Rage. Maybe enough to split South Korea, but it's not quite looking like that. Nico demeched yet again. Flower has to be brought back by Jaehong. And we're still into OT. South Korea has not flipped this point. AKM with the barrage. Will it be enough? It looks like France is pulling into the lead here. And Nox stomping Sabielby flat. And Zunba only the pilot diva left, and that's not going to be enough. France ties up this map.
Really clutching it out there. AKM having a great day on Farah, getting a lot more done with the barrage than we typically see due to positioning himself so far in the back lines here on Oasis. France is definitely making this competitive.
Certainly are. And what a last showing by this squad too. You know, I mean, we saw the desk talk about Team Rogue a little bit, and that's this group here on Team France, and they played together for a long, long time. And, you know, this is probably the last time we're going to get to see this group together is here at BlizzCon today. So this is it, and they are certainly giving us a memorable performance so far.
They certainly are. Doors about to open. Looks like we are going to be treated to some more Farah versus Farah. Typical composition that we see on Gardens due to the verticality of the point.
Yeah. It's about what we'd expect. Everybody trying to jump on the high ground for the moment. Soon needing to be a little bit careful here as the Pharaohs go to work. Against each other, Jaehong getting low, taken down by Nox. Great teamwork there. Flower way out on the side of the map though for the moment. Not reachable by Soon quite yet. Chased away by Toby, but he does manage to demech Zunba. So good start for France, a great start for France.
And
in fact,
yep, they're going to get the first pick up on this capture point. Jaehong picked off early thanks to Soon, just picking away at him from a distance with those tracer pistols. And then the coordination, of course, that we expect from this Team France roster. Nox flying up to finish him off.
Yeah. And so South Korea going to come from behind here in this third and final round on Nepal. Coming in now into the point. Soon staying on the outside. He's got that pulse bomb. South Korea a little bit grouped up. They need to be careful here. Zunba gets stuck, gets demech. No other kills though for Soon with that. Was looking for a little bit more here. Nox does go down. Savielby took him out with his own pulse bomb, but soon not done yet. There goes a Pilot Diva, and he's going for Mono. Mono a little bit low here. Needs some heals from Jaehong, or somebody at least. Has to pop that Primal Rage in the end, and South Korea just trying to keep France split up right now.
Soon's just doing so much work right now, but he is going to get knocked straight off the edge by Mono. Nox entering a Primal Rage himself. Attempt to burn down that 1000 HP with the barrage, going to be mostly successful, but he's still alive and hasn't been finished.
Nice direct hit from Flower will finish him. South Korea, though, still hasn't flipped the point. Maybe they can finally do it now, but the respawns for France are going to start coming back here.
And here we go, more aerial rocket duels. AKM on the side of the map, and he's going to win.
2 in a row, man. AKM, he could only take one more rocket before he would have been taken out. Great duel win by him, and France is back at it. 78% right now. South Korea still has been unable to flip it until right now.
This is the map, though, Doa, that we see so many of these 99 overtimes as we look at this self-destruct. AKM was too busy focused on his duel with Flower, which he won, but then was taken out by the self-destruct immediately thereafter.
Not bad. So South Korea needs to hold this for a long time, and Sabi will be getting picked early and forcing up that res from Jaehong. It's not a great start for them. Zunba just trying to maintain the high ground, and Nox, no Primal Rage for him. He needs to be very careful right now. He's super low, and he may get taken out right here. That would be disaster. Hops away at the last second, and Zunba unable to finish that kill. They do demech Nico, though, and that's a good start to get one of the tanks down at least. Toby, though, not living through this fight. Unko, I believe, did pop that Valkyrie. Yeah, he's got it active right now. We'll see if Zunba can maybe get anyone knocked out of the air here. But man, these fights on Gardens are always such a scrap.
And nobody's close to those ultimates on the South Korean side right now. Mono's going to try and do some work here, but he will fall out of that Primal Rage. AKM gets hit on the ceiling, and Mono will sacrifice himself.
Took him out on the way down.
To pick up that kill. Jaehong comes back and at least is going to get the opportunity to resurrect Toby, but this scrap ongoing, it is very hard to flip this point.
Yeah, again, and there's Flower with the big barrage, gets 2, and gets enough damage done that soon has to retreat there. South Korea holding strong, and we could be looking at a pretty high percent to high percent situation here.
As usual, this is what we know Gardens for. Flower just pre-firing a little bit over the doorway, slowing them as much as he possibly can on their approach. France going to be entering right now with Nico and Nox from the front gate, flank around the side as well. We'll see what the timing on this attack is.
That's right. Flower just waiting. Lucio claims it'll make him feel better, but I don't know. It's pretty tense for me right now. Another air-to-air. Flower losing that last duel, has to back away. Jaehong taken down by the self-destruct. Flower was able to avoid it with his concussion missile, but it was close, man. France starting to win this fight pretty hard. AKM with 3 already, and we are into overtime. They need to flip it back, and they do. South Korea the ones in big trouble right now. Unless they can get this one back again. AKM needs a bit of healing.
And this is where, Doa, we go to what we typically see as an extended overtime battle.
Yeah.
Here on Gardens on Oasis, AKM with the barrage. Unko nearly has that Valkyrie, but we are going to see a support ult advantage, most likely for South Korea. Zunba going to start things off with a kill onto Wins.
Yeah, Wins does go down. AKM not getting a lot with that barrage, not as much as he wanted to. Oh, he gets Jaehong, though, with the air-to-air. That was a crucial kill for France. They really needed Jaehong to stay alive if Korea was going to be able to fight this one out. I think this map may be over. We will see. South Korea still trying to come back, and these fights in overtime do usually take a while.
But the double self-destruct kill, Doa. He gets the big kills, and now we're going to see Jaehong come back with the Valkyries. Already used it right now, and this should be South Korea pulling through thanks to a timely return from the Mercy.
Yeah, Mano's got the Primal Rage too. AKM finally falls. South Korea flips it, and they'll take Nepal. That could not have been closer.
Wow, AKM, in spite of the loss, put up some really good performances on that Pharah.
Yeah, no
just
kidding.
making sure he could kill the Mercy over and over again. That was the biggest aspect of this game, was his control over Jaehong.
I mean, AKM currently the king of the air in this match so far. We'll see if anything changes when we come back for map number 2. Quick break until then, guys. Don't go anywhere. More France versus Korea right after this.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Quarter years or so, I was the game director of World of Warcraft. I think it's commonly known. I left to take a break. I had sort of exhausted myself running the company and game directing World of Warcraft, building that team all at the same time. What I should have done was taken a one-year sabbatical and come back. I went off and I did some other things for a while. But
let's welcome Alan back, by the way, guys.
Been a little over a year now, so it's amazing to be back. Super, super fun. And yeah, I left in, I think, February 2004. And then the game shipped in November 2004, and Rob Pardo stepped in and took the product live.
On the expected pickup here, a map that Rogue and Team France, they're one in the same, but we call them both depending on where they are competing.
Depending on our headspace at the moment.
Exactly, and if we get confused or not. A map that this team, regardless, has excelled on in the past. I think we can easily expect Volskaya next if they are going to lose this one. Another map that they have seen, you know, a lot of wins on so far. And not just the player, but actual victories as well.
Yeah. Here we go. Nimbani. And that's us, Don Monte Cristo. Happy to be here at BlizzCon once again. It's our second World Cup, and man, the matches this year have been so intense, man. It was good last year, but this year is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, that's right. Now that we've got so many of these professional players, future Overwatch League,
our team colors,
competitors, our team colors, our replay features, everything is brand new and shiny.
Oh yeah.
Now we are going to see South Korea with a pretty standard setup on the defense. Jae-Hong going to be playing his specialty hero Ana, and AKM likewise going to be matching with his feared Soldier 76.
That's right. France going for a little bit of dive, as they often do on this map, with the composition that they often use. Mano jumping in very early here. He's got the shield down, just trying to disrupt France, separate people a little bit from their team, trying to prevent that early dive. Flower does go down early, not able to protect him. Is South Korea like they were hoping? Flower has to be brought back up with the res. Meanwhile, Nico D-Next Zunba. And again, another brawl in the payload, but France gaining a lot of time already. They've nearly got it, and they just managed to keep South Korea off the point long enough to just grab it on their first push.
Great patience coming to them to start the initial burst of damage and slowly walk forward and continue to get kills. And now France is chasing Korea all the way back to the spawn behind point C.
You know, I mean, South Korea uses the Illidan player logo. So in the lobby, you just see a whole wall of "You are not prepared." But I gotta say, I don't think it may be France that are the not prepared ones in Nimbani here.
And now France just has so much time to work with. And we'll see how dedicated Korea wants to be to trying to slow them down here on point B, which we rarely see point B holds, but sometimes you can take a little bit of time off the clock.
Well, that was a
zoning tac visor.
It was a zoning tac visor, that's right. Yep, that's right. Let's take a look at his stats here. One zoning tac visor. They didn't put that one on there. South Korea diving in, trying to keep France off the payload. Sabiel grabs two already, so it looks like a pretty decent defense for the moment anyway. despite AKM managing to get a little bit of revenge there. Oh, Nico with 2 on that self-destruct, and France comes right back to the payload again. Toby forced to use that double res, popping that Valkyrie again, but AKM, man, nobody seems to be able to stop him right now.
They're at least slowing down the payload. A little bit. Both players having to use Valkyrie in order to get the extra reses. So the grind here from France coming through, especially with Wins using that Transcendence. They should be able to eventually pull through on this fight and push the rest of the way on to point B. So was but a minor distraction. Jaehong going to be switching on to the Zenyatta. He was staying there just because he had the nano boost up and wanted to use that as an engagement tool with Mono, and that's a sneaky little self-destruct there.
Nothing but net. Just put that one right in there.
That was a really good angle behind the cart, too.
Yeah. From downtown, he's on fire. Oh, there we go. There's a res. Wins comes back. Come on back, Wins. Here we go, though. Flower, though, pulling out the Dragon Blade. We'll see what he can get with it. Not finding a whole lot so far, and in the end has to back away. The rest of his team's trying to take advantage of the chaos, so they're going to jump in. AKM will fall to Sabiel B, and Wins will go down in the end too. So France does get point B, but kind of stalled out just past that point, as South Korea holds for the moment.
And we're seeing how you play around Mercy in this particular meta. If you get lucky like we saw, and your Zenyatta player is going to get a big right-click play, then that's when you start to invest ultimates. When they already are down a res, you need to make sure that's going away so that you have your ultimates are stickier. They have a higher value and a higher percentage chance of actually winning you a fight that delays the payload.
Well, speaking of winning a fight, Unko goes down very early in this one, and that's going to mean most likely a one fight for South Korea, and Flower going to put the exclamation point on the end of that sentence with the Dragon Blade.
Flower dangerously close to another Dragon Blade now.
It just seems like he's always got it. He fooled me there. I admit it. Didn't have it there.
Yeah, just getting the kills off the dash, but it is impressive how fast he's able to recharge that ability.
Yep.
France going to be coming in with the tac visor.
There we go.
And how are they going to approach this? Looks like they're trying to head around the far side of the card, but Wins is actually on his own right now.
Uh-oh, that could be rough. Oh, but they take down Flower just in time. Toby doing what he can with that Valkyrie, needs to get in there with the reses really quick. France using nearly all their ultimates right now to try to push this, but it's South Korea coming out ahead in the fight. It was an apocalyptic battle, but that payload is stopped.
That was actually a really good tactical visor from AKM. So when they saw the kill onto Wins, they knew that's when Flower was going to pull that blade, because that's what he did in the exact previous fight before this. So just waiting very patiently and kills him during the animation. Doesn't end up in a one fight, but they are going to have at least a Primal Rage, and they did force South Korea out of an ult advantage situation.
I like the swap onto McCree by AKM here. Able to handle Flower in those close quarters combat. Toby in a lot of trouble. Wow, he just gets zapped to death by Nox, who gets in there with that Winston. Kind of a weird battle as South Korea finds themselves behind France, and that payload is moving.
Yeah, it's still going. They're going to try and flank with people coming out of spawn right now.
Yeah.
They don't want to start trickling onto that card one at a time.
All right, Zumba. Not lasting too long here. France with 230 to push this payload just a little ways. Nox goes ahead and uses that Primal Rage to get out of the fight. Make sure that he can still stay grouped up with his team. Comes down behind Flower. And Sabiel B not quite lasting against AKM here. France with a golden opportunity to get a little bit more distance on this payload.
Yeah, Flower, though, causing a lot of issues for them. He's going to get another Dragon Blade. Can he get the kills? He can!
He's got 3 already. Looking for a little bit more, but he has certainly bought Korea some time.
Wow, just dodging right over the top of AKM to find those supports in the backfield and ensuring that they go down immediately. Unko will return to the fray, though, with the Valkyrie.
Yeah, Unko has that Valkyrie, too, so.
And now Jaehong as well. So you're going to match the support ult coming through. The damage boosting here onto AKM as he's looking for those long-range shots. Nox has been doing a good job of finishing off.
Wow, Sabiel B takes down Unko. They don't have the Valkyrie anymore on the side of France, and this is going to be another pretty stompy fight for South Korea. Flower falls in the end. Toby's going to just bring him right back up again with the normal cooldown. And France back to the drawing board. They still have 1:20 remaining, but I'd start to be a little bit worried if I'm the blue team right now.
I would be too. They need to keep an eye out for the Dragon Blade of Flower again. And even though they have those 2 support ultimates, it's been a bit of mind games as to when that sword has been pulled on these last few pushes.
Yeah. Well, both attack ults for South Korea, they're actually very well situated ultimate-wise. See what happens. Mano taken down very early due to Soon's pulse bomb. Flower having to back away. Nico grabs Jaehong with that self-destruct. France winning a big fight, trying to push that payload ahead, and Flower not able to get anything done at all. He's still got the Dragon Blade, and South Korea is going to need to put those ults to good work when they get back.
I just need to delay the cart right now, wait for those respawns, and allow Flower to clean this up. There are no more support ultimates to defend against this from France.
Yeah.
It has to be AKM hitting some great shots, or Nox bouncing him back so he can't get dash resets.
Zumba's got that great zoning tool in the self-destruct. He needs to maybe use that rather than lose the mech. Nox gets 2 already with the primal rage, trying to guard the spawns. Self-destruct was used. France had to back off for a moment, but they've still got time.
Flower dies again with his Dragon Blade up and available. He didn't have the healing as he was in the back lines to make the most of that ability, so the cart continues to move here in overtime.
South Korea just relying on the respawns. Now it soon gets Toby with the pulse bomb. France just going to push his payload forward, and I don't think Flower's going to last long enough to do this one. He's got the Dragon Blade, but can't get the kills, and France will finish Nambani attack in OT.
That was maybe a bit greedy there from Flower, waiting for a long time. There wasn't ever a good opportunity for him to use that Dragon Blade, but sometimes I think you have to go for it. And tries at the very end, but in a 3-on-1, it makes things very difficult.
And France manages to finish that attack run. It was close at the end. Let's check a replay with Flower. Going to be pulling out that Dragon Blade. This was one of the better fights for South Korea, as you can see. Ooh. Wow.
Just diving right over the top of AKM. Dangerous still for him to do that. He could have been shut down there twice in a row.
Yep. I feel like we're seeing just a bit of desperation creep into South Korea's tactics here. Flower may be a little bit flustered, but it felt like he took some time to sort of activate right in their match against USA.
Yeah, I think to a certain degree that's true. And the longer the games went on, it seemed like the better Flower got. We got to see that Widowmaker play.
It can be a late bloomer
Hanamura
sometimes.
And Gibraltar, and then of course, and the thing about these Korean teams is they have such immense fortitude when it comes to playing at a consistent level over a long series. A lot of other teams tend to lose focus, tend to not be able to play at the level they start a match at or the level they peak at a match at. I think we saw that a bit yesterday from USA versus Korea that played them competitively but ran out of gas in maps 4 and 5.
Everyone free to live as they choose.
Yep. So here we go. France on the defense now. South Korea going to try to equalize and finish their attack run on Nambani here. All they have to do is do with a little bit of time left in the time bank to have a pretty big edge over France if we go to the time bank mode. France, you're always in a good spot when you complete Nambani attack. That last point is tough for any team to take.
This is an interesting look from South Korea. They are going to switch Saebyulbi over to the Soldier 76. But that's a great dive.
All right.
So Team France sees their composition and they say, hey, they're going for poke. They want to deal with us from long range. France, excellent at diving, just gets on top of the Korean roster and instantly and shuts them down on the approach to the high ground. So not going to let them have any kind of good positioning. They know they're heading around the left side instead of trying to dive up into the upper right with those more mobility-based heroes.
Yeah. Zumba not minding at all, going back and doing the hero swap to get his suit back. Didn't have a lot of ult charge to lose there.
Yeah, gotta do it too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Here we go, a little bit of Farah v Farah again. AKM certainly winning that fight on Nepal despite France losing the map, and looks like France is going to be winning this fight.
And this is great from France. They're using a mobility advantage that they have with their team composition to collapse on the flanks. And they know Flower's up there, but they also know he has no line of sight if he's floating at the main entrance on the main road, and the rest of his teammates are coming through that gate to the upper level on the left-hand side. So they jump over there, and quickly eliminate. So France's shot calling going well so far on Numbani.
Yeah, keep in mind too that France was able to just roll in and take point A on their very first attack too. So already South Korea with a much slower point A time here. Oh, so close, man. Oko does go down. And Flower taking the lead in this pharmacy battle here. France, though, on the other side of the fight, taking down Jaehong and Saebyeolbi. Toby brings back Saebyeolbi for the moment, but they need to make this res count.
And it doesn't. So
nope, it does not.
AKM will finish him off, and Flower doing what he can, but for the most part, Team France is just ignoring the Pharah right now and playing in the corridors to get the early kills. So he's working extremely well, tight defense, and Korea continuing to stick with this particular composition. They don't want to move off of it, in spite of the fact that they have seen really limited success. They're under 2 minutes remaining.
That's right, and they've already got the first tick here. France just moving way far off the point, and South Korea, they may get the second tick here too. France needs to get back here and defend this. They do now. There's a barrage to kind of block the hallway. Transcendence used by Jaehong to keep everybody up on France, or on South Korea rather. AKM though, taken down by Flower. And maybe this is the time. Saebyeolbi, I believe, popped that tac visor too, and they're just throwing everything they've got into this fight. Will it be enough though? Looks like it might be. Yeah, as Flower finishes off Nico, that's going to be South Korea taking point A here in the end. And they will get this payload moving, but only a minute left on point A before they took it.
Yeah, that was a big delay for Team France, especially, you know, considering they've already completed this map. So this is an opportunity for them to really slow down the cart in point B. They have a sound barrier in order to do that. And with point C on Numbani being quite difficult for the attacking side, it's looking less and less likely that unless Korea basically runs through unopposed, that they are going to make it to the end of this map.
Yeah, well, they're certainly not going to do that as Jaehong already taken out, and look at that. Already a great start for France here on the streets phase, pushing South Korea all the way back to spawn.
So they will all re-enter the room and regroup. Flower decides he is tired of this Pharah versus Pharah battle, although to be fair, it hasn't been much of a Pharah versus Pharah as we saw in Oasis. It's mostly been ignore Flower and kill everybody else.
That worked for France for quite a while.
But he's tired of the shenanigans, wants to be able to take out Unko and AKM on his own terms, but he will not have that opportunity soon, making his life difficult.
Yeah, and France, just at this point, it feels like they're just kind of splitting off and taking their own little 1v1s. Nox knows that he's got the health advantage over Manu. He's just going to keep chasing him. Oh no, he's coming, look out! The melee's, oh, the primal rage from Manu. Turnabout is fair play. Nox does get brought back up by Unko right away. Just when you thought it was safe.
Nox activated Manu's trap card.
Yeah, that's right. Drawing the ultimate out is still a win in the end, no matter what.
Yeah, for sure.
For Nox.
That buys so much time for France, and now they're basically just spawn camping them.
Pretty much, although South Korea finally taking the lead here in kills. Hard to dislodge soon from the cart, but they finally do that. But again, it's about the timing. South Korea's already down to about 1:30 on the clock.
That was another minute that melted away.
Yeah.
And they've got a ways to go on point B. They're going to have to fight again. So it'll probably be somewhat of a desperation push if they can even make it to point C on Numbani.
It'd be pretty incredible to see South Korea finish the map at this point. Just timing-wise, it's going to be so hard for them to do point C. Nice flashbang over the car here, but Flower has to back away anyway, as he wasn't able to follow up enough damage. Flower,
nice stash by Soon.
That was so close. Jaehong found him in the end anyway, but he managed to avoid the Deadeye. Gets brought back up right away by Unko. Flower turning things around a little bit. Saebyeolbi had to be res. And that payload still going to roll forward a little bit more. Whoa, AKM though, with a surprise Deadeye. I don't think he was expecting that one.
Coming around the lip of the cart and immediately walking into that Deadeye. Looks like Korea will, in the end, be the victors of this fight, but 40 seconds left, and there's still delaying going on by Soon.
That is so annoying, man. They finally take him down, but Soon on his own has cost South Korea so much time here on Numbani.
And all they get is 1.5 minutes for completing that checkpoint.
Yeah, good luck doing that, because this point is really tough to do fast.
And here comes the Orisa, Doa. Time to entrench their defenses.
Yep.
Around this corner, dare them to walk forward, try and break this barrier.
Flower breaks Nico out of the mech already. Decent opening salvo from South Korea.
Soon is playing around these Deadeyes so well.
No kidding. Oh, Flower finally finds him. Took a while, but finally caught that Tracer with the flashbang. Nico just jumping right back onto the payload, though, delaying a little bit more, but it is still moving. A minute remaining for South Korea. They've got the self-destruct. They've nearly got the Valkyrie. Let's watch this one again. Let's see what Sabielby did here. Managed to throw the pulse bomb in there. Nice stick there onto AKM. Oh, an AKM! No, you don't want to tumble that way, man. That is the wrong way.
It's the highest damage tumble I've ever seen.
That's right. That was a max damage tumble. And Flower just waltzing in here with the revolver and finally gets taken down. Going to be brought back up again, of course. But South Korea are rolling forward just like they needed to. Nox, the only one standing between them and completing the map. AKM joins the fray now, but that may be it. That may be enough. Nico can't get there, and South Korea finishes with just over a minute, minute 38 remaining. We said they had to have an amazing point C, and man, they really did. Between Sabielby and Flower,
I agree, Joe, but I really wonder about that Orisa switch. So I like it when you're playing around that corner and you can alternate between hiding around the corner and placing your barrier down.
Right.
But I think after that push, he was really not very far along in terms of ult percentage. I think for that last fight, I would have rather seen him switch to Reinhardt and just get on top of the cart and start dealing a little bit more damage and at least have more mobility as to which angle he could move the shield to. So I think that probably would have been a good switch, but didn't happen.
Let's watch this one more time, just because it's so much fun. A tumbling tumbleweed is AKM tumbling into the death of his
That's the deadliest tumbleweed I've ever seen, Noah.
I'm McCree and I'm helping. Well, here we are into the time bank round now. It's going to be an attack coming first from the French side. They have 1 minute to do what they can.
Well, they were very convincing on their initial attack on their first run, so maybe they can duplicate that.
Yep.
South Korea on the defense. Flower this time will be on the Genji, so they have abandoned the Soldier 76. So they are trying to react to the French dive, but that's not what we're going to get. We're going to get Bastion.
That's right. I love it, man. We've seen quite a bit of Bastion in this tournament so far, and I can't complain. And this is one of the oldest tricks in the book on Nimbani, man. You charge onto the high ground, set Bastion up behind the shield, catch somebody out. We're back on the ladder with this one here. We'll see how South Korea reacts. Soon, of course, backing away. Oh, and he's fallen to pieces already. Flower just jumping right in there. France responding. The Bastion down for the moment.
So that's the danger, Doa. If they have the Genji and you walk up onto that high ground, the Genji dash through that doorway. If you are coordinated, you'll notice South Korea, they send in Zunba on the Diva first, and then Flower followed him in behind the defense matrix to get the big dashes and clear that attack out.
Yeah.
Great reaction from South Korea. France is now going to, of course, switch off the Bastion. The jig is up.
Yeah, we're into overtime already, though. I mean, that was their one shot. They've really got to win a scrappy fight here. Unko has to bring up soon again already, and Mano just responds by Mario stomping him to death here. Nox coming back in with 2 kills himself. One of them was Toby. So South Korea without their mercy. It's all on Flower. It's all the Dragon Blade. He's got 2 already. Make it 3. And Flower will single-handedly deny France any progress in their time bank attack.
And that is the fruit of the labor from the first push. You get a huge amount of ult charge by getting the dashes in that corridor and then transfer it into a big ultimate to make sure it's cleaned out. Now we could, of course, still have a draw here.
Definitely.
Definitely that possibility. Korea only has 38 more seconds compared to France in order to get that first tick on point A.
That is true. Can't blame France for giving it a shot with the Bastion. I mean, you know, we've seen that work in the past. It's a bit of a cheese strat, but when you only have that little amount of time, you kind of have to go for something tricky once in a while.
Well, they were expecting the Soldier. They were not expecting the Genji, but Korea had already made an adaptation because it's weird. Because France had that dive composition, they chose to do something more mobile so they could react to it. It just ended up also being very good against the Reinhardt Bastion.
That's right. So here we are, France on the defense, South Korea on the attack with 1 minute and 38 seconds in the time bank. All they need to do is take that first tick here on point A Nimbani, and they will go up 2-0 in this series. But even if they do that, man, what a close series already.
Yeah, it's been great. You see so much intelligent team composition management and ult management from these teams.
Right.
And AKM playing once more with the Pharah. Mercy, swap to Flower on the Soldier 76. So they're going for Soldier Tracer. They are going to need the high ground here, but they want to avoid getting hit by that Pharah as they go into position. Tanks
now they spot
coming around the left-hand side.
That's right.
This is a bait so that they can provide protection while people come through the door.
I'll see if it works out. Nox getting a little bit low there soon as well. Mano has to back away, get some health back again. Nox just trying to control that hallway, build up that ult charge by hitting as many people as possible.
Mano scarily close to death there, but runs back to the Mercy.
AKM super low right now. Flower has to be careful. Nox tried to save him. Both Divas desuited here, and AKM very low. Flower finds that kill he's been searching for this entire attack, but France responding.
There is no
does
health
go
back.
down. Oh no, no health for Flower, and Nico manages to finish him off. Jaehong on the point right now though, and that may be enough right here. We'll see if they can do it. Self-destruct comes in.
Nico is not
killed. Get Nico. He gets back in the suit just in time, and man, France barely holds.
But Jaehong will have his ultimate up. The Transcendence will be there. We're going to see support ults from both of these sides. And attack visor. When will Flower have an opportunity to use it, if ever?
Well, AKM needs to come up with a huge pick right now. If he can take down Jaehong or Toby here before they get to the point, that is massive. 5 seconds here as South Korea comes in to try to win Nimbani. Flower on the high ground, draws people out of position. Let's see if France responds. They didn't chase quite as much as Flower was hoping here. Poking in, South Korea on the point. We're into OT, and Flower looking for that opportunity. Oh, Wins goes down. Zumba with the first kill. Has to be brought back up again by Unko, and Flower tries to find the advantage, but Nico right there with the Diva to block that tack visor. South Korea is on the point right now, and that self-destruct does catch AKM, so here's a chance. Unko takes down Jaehong with the blaster, but South Korea on the point. They only need a little bit more, and soon, once again, it's all him standing between France and defeat, and Sabi will be right there as well. Nox coming in with Unko again. They've got a chance. Zumba only at about half health.
Sabielby's down.
Korea, they got to get back there, man.
Flower came back with the Sombra to get a little bit faster back to the point. Translocates up. This is the desperation Sombra, but he has made it back and joined the
Primal Rage for Mano and France. I don't know if they can handle this, man. It's going to be tough. Self-destruct takes down Toby, but they're so close, and South Korea again barely wins the map. They will go up 2-0 in this series.
It has been a very close 2-0 though, and you see it was only the swaps to the Sombra and Jaehong onto the Soldier that got them back in time to grind that fight out on the point.
Man, that was about as close again as you can cut it here. I can't believe it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will move into the second half of this match and see who moves on to the finals. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Yes.
Woot, me too. Cross-bar. Anyway.
Yeah, I think we also do a lot of stuff where we'll frame a shot. So you'll kind of set up something where you know a player is going to be quested to. Like, so you get the big yellow marker and you open your map and you're like, I'm going to beeline right there. So if we know that, then we can set up a really awesome way to get there. So there's a lot involved with quests too, and flowing through the player.
Yeah, the flow of the zone helps dictate a lot of like where we'll put the landmarks and how we'll frame them for the player.
Cool. Yeah, good question.
Cool.
Hello, my name is Eero. I'm from Finland. But my question is, you showed us the small point of interest and how you create them, but how do you connect these small point of this interest into zones and initially to the whole world? How do you connect these small scenes to our areas and to like
all those categories?
I just play. Spare, no pressure. I just play. If I fail, I don't care. If I clutch, I don't care.
Even in metas where Tracer has not been quite as prevalent, Soon has been very loyal to his Tracer, playing it at times where people might go, can he really do that right now?
And those are 2 kills already, Noah.
Oh boy. The answer is yes.
A lot of people say that Soon has changed quite a bit since he went over to Korea. He got kind of tilted playing against the Korean players. But me personally, I think Soon is still as dangerous as he always has been. And we saw a lot in Shanghai that Soon can still carry a team. Soon can still make those very important plays when he's needed.
I wouldn't want to say that he carried the French team because every single one of the France players did very, very well. If he wasn't famous before, right, for being ranked #1 Tracer in the world, he's famous now.
So much, guys, over at the casting booth. What a game that you guys have a pleasure to call over there. Welcome back, everyone, to the 2017 Overwatch World Cup. It's the halftime for our second semifinal of the day. Joining us now on the desk is Hex. You see that? You're just killing me with your name.
Yeah, I apologize. Everything falls apart once he gets there.
I know, right? it sucks, too, because it's like Hex and then X and you know, for Mr. X.
I'll change my name for you.
You should be Mr. Hex. If you guys ever cast together, you'll be Mr. Hex.
I think we did like a year ago. Yeah.
Okay, so that works out well. In any case, so wow, what a game that we have here, guys. South Korea up 2-0, but don't let the scoreline fool you because these games have been incredibly close. Jamerson, I want to ask you a question here. Firstly, how do you feel about France's performance in this matchup? And then second, it's not really a question, it's more of a statement because I believe you have a cool highlight for us as well.
I mean, we knew that if they lost the first map, they were more than likely going to take it to Numani because that is just classic France, classic Rogue. And we saw initially on point A, their dive coming out in this highlight that we do have ready for you guys, that it was just absolutely classic execution coming out from them where they contest the high ground and force them away. As soon as we get this highlight started, I can exactly show you what happened. And then we'll see the stylistic approach coming out from them at this point. This is the stagger that happened afterwards, though, after they took point A. But I mean, it was just, right, the D.Va and the Winston jumping onto the high ground, forcing them back, and then, of course, going straight for the spawn here and picking up all of these staggered kills, which made it difficult for Korea to reestablish their defense.
It's a very uncharacteristic to see the South Koreans being pushed back like that, James. And you would think that they would have been aware of it going into it, that Rogue would have looked to have done the dive early on. And this man right here, Nox, has been driving that. He has been so good this game. Dare I say he's playing the game of his life at this time, James?
I mean, he is, but also on the other end, if we take a look at Mono's stats, he's doing an incredible job on this Winston. We saw Nox at 40-something and 11 kills or 11 deaths. But take a look at Mono's stats. 62 eliminations and only 8 deaths. So even though everyone on the side of France are just playing out of their minds, their counterparts are just playing that much better.
And that's really what it's coming down to, because I mean these games are being decided by, you know, just a hair. They're so close to closing these out. And honestly, I think that if France hadn't kind of altered their style from the first dive, we might have seen Numbani go a different way. But instead, they wanted to try to surprise South Korea, not run the same dive on that attack on point A. They tried to bring out the Bastion, but they kind of just outthought themselves, and they put themselves in a state where they thought that this was going to work, but inevitably they just suffered for it.
I'm not a big fan when teams try to outthink themselves. They're
Yeah,
thinking
too
this, they're
meta.
thinking that. Like, you're winning because your mechanics have been at the same level as France up into this moment. And even on a small micro level towards the end when Nox got off of the Winston, which was their bread and butter, which was keeping them in the game, to switch to the Orisa, I think it's something maybe they planned that we'd like to run Orisa on third, but when you're playing as well as he is on a hero, you throw all that out the window and you just go with what's working.
I also do think that the story of this has been that South Korea, as good as they are not untouchable. They're not untouchable. But you know what is untouchable? T-Mobile. That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, somebody else can get booed for once.
Yeah, no, I relish. Although I am a bit more of a face commentator than Monty, the heel commentator. I embrace the boos here and there. That being said, though, guys, you can go out there and vote on the Twitch chat. You can go ahead and use !mark T-Mobile MVP battle tag there on Twitter, # T-Mobile MVP, and then you use the battle tag there as well. It's getting close, so make sure you guys are out there voting now, because there's a lot on the line here. There's a beautiful trophy that these players are going to get. And by the way, I mean, you had pointed out before, so people should be voting for Flower, but apparently there was just like a confusion in the spelling of his name.
There are lots of numbers and letters
Yeah.
floating about, but
Yeah.
I think they have tallied it pretty correctly right now. And I would imagine after that performance on Genji throughout both, and along with the Pharah play coming out from him on Oasis, he might be inching closer to XQC.
All right. So let's go ahead and wrap this up here and just get some thoughts, because Kilios, bring you in for this real fast. Can you see France take this game 3, given how close these matches have been so far?
You know, I think I'd be a fool to say, no, they can't take it. I mean, it depends on their mental state right now. Obviously, I'm not sure how they are after going down, after losing barely in those first 2 maps. But I think that they could bring this back. I think that they can make this a series. I said 3-1 for these guys. I think they could still pull it out right here.
I would tend to agree. I think the keys are stay away from maps which favor Widowmaker. We saw how Deadly Flower can be on Widow. You don't want any part of that. And go to maps in which you can have a Pharah v Pharah battle, because I think AKM and Flower were dueling it out and very even on that. It gives France the advantage.
Like I said before, the scoreline will fool you, because this matchup has been incredibly close. When we go to a break, or we're going to go to a break, when we come back, apologies there, we are going to have our next matchup. It's going to be exciting. Let's see if France can pull one out, or will South Korea punch their ticket to the finals. We'll catch you on the other side.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Welcome back, guys, to the 2017 Overwatch World Cup. We are in the thick of it now. France versus South Korea in our second semifinal of the day, and South Korea is up 2-0 in the series, but Monte Cristo, it is a very, very close 2-0.
It is very close. Either of those maps could have gone to the French team had the cookie crumbled a bit differently, but fortunately for them, it has not so far, and they find themselves on the brink of heading to our bronze medal match.
Yeah, wouldn't want that.
And they have, interestingly, chosen Hanamura. Now, I thought they were going to choose Volskaya. Perhaps they don't want to play on a very Sombra-heavy map against the South Korean team.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, people may have forgotten Flower's Sombra play is quite good. And I'm not just talking about the very end of Nambani. I'm saying in general, he's also a very good Sombra. I mean, he's good on everything, but if you watch some of Apex, he had a lot of good games on that hero.
Yeah, I do admit I'm a bit surprised, though, because of how much experience Team France has on that map. But
yeah,
going to be cooking up something different for us. And speaking of different, it will be mono on the Orisa. So Orisa Roadhog.
Yeah.
And what this combination does is pull people into the gate using the halt from Orisa and set them up for hooks. So as we see France attempt to poke through this doorway, they have to be very careful about the Orisa Roadhog combination.
Yep. France coming in now, and you're waiting for it. There it is. Yep. That is exactly what this is supposed to do. You grab him with the halt from Orisa, sets up an easy hook for Roadhog. Yeah, you gotta watch out for that.
Soon is patient behind enemy lines.
Sneaky Soon. Oh, gets found.
They know he's back there. They saw him run in there.
You'd think so.
And they didn't see his death appear, so.
Sabiel and him are just gonna do a little 1v1. Oh, Sabiel coming down with the melee.
That was a nice little one clip there.
Yeah, wow, that was fast. Man, Nico forced to back away a little bit with that Orb of Discord. Holt not able to quite set up the kill for South Korea that time around. The hook missed as Nox jumped out. And France just kind of back to figure some things out. AKM gonna swap over to that Pharah.
Yeah, moving over from the D.Va. So triple DPS composition from France. They want to provide as many damage angles as possible to punish the low mobility of the Orisa and the Roadhog.
Wow, Nox goes down early though. That's a rough start for France. Bano gets 2 actually on that Orisa. AKM manages to find Flower before he's rezzed, and so far nobody able to quite handle that Pharah just yet. They're kind of ignoring him for the moment.
AKM has to retreat over the rooftops, but cut down on the eaves of the gate.
Couldn't quite escape. Wynn's already dead to another hook from Zunba's Roadhog. And so far, France looking like they're having quite a tough time handling this comp.
And they are going to stick with the triple DPS though, waiting for some of these ultimates to come up. And soon on the very far side of the map, as we saw from our mini-map right there, Sabiel and soon playing Tracer versus Tracer flank battles.
Yep.
Neither of them will be really a part of this engagement.
Nico has that Discord orb on him, but maybe he's got a chance here. No! Jaehong was so ready for that one. Nico with no chance to set up the reflect, I guess. And South Korea holding strong for the moment. A couple ultimates to use. There goes the Bongo, the supercharger put down by Mano, but already South Korea pulling way ahead in this fight.
And that's going to be soon having to leave again, wait for the rest of his team. Unko will throw himself off the map and get that respawn going a little bit quicker.
Takes the death taxi back to the base, as we like to say.
A death cab, as it were.
Yep.
And Mercy's pretty cute.
Oh, there it is again! Halt, now come forward. Now die. It's beautiful. Zunba, 56% hook accuracy, but you think it'd be better since all of them are set up for him. Oh, there's a nice hook. Grabs Nox, and then immediately pulls out the whole hog. Wins falls yet again. And France really having a hard time getting in there. The barrage gets 2 for AKM. Oh, but Unko grabbed again. Another hook for Zunba. Takes a breather as he backs out and grabs a health pack as well. And South Korea, meanwhile, the rest of the team managing to find the picks to force France back.
They're going to find Nox up here too, and he's not going to be long. One hook missed there from Zunba.
Yeah.
And he's been doing great on this Roadhog so far. When we think about the players on this team, Sabiel is the one who's known for some fantastic Roadhog play, but Zunba delivering here in the semifinals.
That's right. Has to take another breather. Is France able to fill up quite a bit on the control meter here. Nearly 2 ticks already. Soon taking out Toby really helps him out quite a bit. Looks like France may be able to take point A. It's do or die time for here. Zunba just going to try to delay and use as much time as he can. Unko grab, stays alive. No, but not long enough as Jaehong comes back with the Sombra switch. France still, though, holding strong on this point. They've nearly got it. We're into OT. And South Korea will just kind of stall out for a little bit. But now if France rushes fast enough, maybe they can get a little edge on point B.
And no ultimates, though, for Team France. They have to wait for that Valkyrie. They had to use the Transcendence, so it's not going to be a quick snowball here into the second point. And Flower going to be with that tack visor soon. Jaehong back onto the Zenyatta. The Sombra switch was just for the speed to get back to that point and hope for that full hold.
It was close. France able to take point A. A little over 3 minutes remaining to try to take this one. Mano just hanging out by the choke there. Nox going to jump onto the high ground. Nico does take down Flower fairly early. Nox pretty low. He's got to be careful. Gets the heal at the end. There's the ult pop by Unko, trying to keep his team alive. And AKM batted away by Mano. Whoa! I can fly! It's amazing. You'd think you'd be getting too old for that. AKM running back in the door now, finding Flower. Has to back off, though, as the rest of his team kind of taking on the fight early, and Flower not going to let him get away.
You know, for being an old guy, he sure has amazing knees. You think
he is, yeah.
Being able to stick that landing.
That's a voice line they forgot to put in there. Like, my knees. Oh, wow. There's always we can always patch that in there.
Hey, look at this, dog. It's going to be Flower. Hey. Returning to the Widowmaker.
What do you know? A lot of ults on the side of France here, too, to work with. 3 out of 6, and a couple more on the way soon. No pun intended. But so, Flower, we'll see what he can get with this.
So typically, there are many Korean teams, and also Envy, now known as the Dallas Fuel, when they know they're at an ult disadvantage, they will switch to the Widowmaker because they want to get a pick and reset their ult economy.
Yeah.
So this is, I think, a response to that. Because it's not...
Oh, edge line. Woo, soon taken down early. Flower backs away as he feels some pressure, but it's a great start already. France does jump onto the point here. South Korea needs to respond. Oh, and Nico actually setting it up for AKM to take down Flower with the rockets here. Gets back in the mech just in time. Toby brings back their team's Widowmaker. And AKM barely staying alive on that high ground. South Korea does force France back for the moment, but Jaehong has to use that Transcendence to stay up. Nico demeched right now, and AKM trying to get back to the point. Can't really get a whole lot done with that. Maybe, yes, he can kill Zunba. And so France certainly making South Korea feel it as they slowly get pushed back. They actually drew quite a bit of ultimates out of South Korea.
Yeah, they did, but look at what they had to use to remember. They came into that fight with a huge ultimate advantage, and they are exiting it with a disadvantage. As AKM explodes to save Yoldi's pulse bomb. That was just stuck to the side of Nico's mech. But look at what happened there, because South Korea responded well. They get the first pick thanks to the Widowmaker, and they know the tack visor's up. So AKM has to deal with the bubble, and Jaehong on the Zenyatta on the high ground, body blocking him during Transcendence, so he can't actually get an angle. It was a team effort between Mano and Jaehong, and that's one of the best ways you can deal with a tack visor. Just takes a lot of coordination.
Not bad. Well, speaking of tack visors, AKM's got another one loaded up now. France, having that being their only ultimate, soon will have another pulse bomb in the near future.
But still, they're being pushed off, and they're waiting so long to set this up. Where's the tack visor? The Valkyrie is up, so just scary for AKM. He had that angle locked off with a right click.
Yep, that's right. And AKM looking for a little bit more with those rockets. Wins, down early actually. Sabielby finds a pretty crucial pick here, and France down to just about 10 seconds remaining. Flower gets the pick onto Unko, and this is bad news for France. Sabielby takes out AKM just as he pops the tack visor, and Nox, the rage may be fruitless in the end, and he is the last one to fall. Soon gets back on the payload just in time, but there's OT ticking away, and it looks like France will be denied that point B take. 48.6% is all they're going to get out of point B.
That was a lights out defense from South Korea as that round ended.
Yeah.
AKM never had a chance to use that tactical visor. He saw Mano coming up and slamming the shield down on the ground, and there was just too much trouble in the bubble, man, for him to ever find an angle.
That's right. Trouble in the bubble.
There was so much trouble in that bubble. Diva, Saviol be there on Tracer.
Oh,
everybody just focusing him down, and we see some nice Orisa tracking highlights, courtesy of Mono.
It's some of the best halts I think I've ever seen, but that strategy is so fun to watch, right?
It's hilarious.
Setting up those hooks for Roadhog. Try it on the ladder.
Please try that with your friends.
That's right. Try it with your friends. You can do it at home in gold.
You can.
Yeah.
It makes it so easy to
That's
hit.
right. Anyone can do it.
No mechanics required.
Other teams hate him. Tip 4 will shock you. Actually, Winston will shock you. But other tips may shock you too. Well, South Korea, I'm so sorry, everyone. South Korea on the attack here now. And all they need to do is get a little over halfway on point B, and they will send themselves to the grand finals. Korea fans in the audience there.
And guess what, Doa?
What?
I think we're going to see some Flower
Yeah.
on some Widowmaker. But he's hovering the Hanzo right now. He's switching off. Is he going to play the Hanzo instead? This may be for a few style points.
Might be one of those guys in the lobby that just does it to make people mad, and then he swaps to what he's going to play at the very end. You know those guys. Yeah, he's got Bastion. All right.
Well, he's played Bastion before.
You know, it would not shock me. We'll see.
Having Bastion with a Winston would be a little odd, though, but
it would.
They are going to try it. So the unseen Bastion is the deadliest here.
And Jae-Hong throws out that Sonic Arrow. All right, they're going to swap back over there. We
Widowmaker,
go. And here comes the Widowmaker.
So I'm not sure what they saw that made them make that decision. Now, Soon, clever,
he was
knowing
ready,
the
man.
Widow was going to be up there. And he will delay that positioning and own the high ground. He's also just going to waste a lot of Flower's time looking around for that sneaky little Tracer.
He's got him worried now. He's got him scared.
Yeah, Soon's actually on the point right now. He's not anywhere close to this. So.
Yeah. But look at that. The fear of Soon has been put into Flower here. Has to be careful. There's a grappling hook to get up high. Can he find any picks? Nox protected by that shield. Flower's still under a little bit of fire. Looking for those angles, has to back away. That McCree from AKM is just a little bit too scary.
France is so ready for this. The Orisa defense here, keeping everybody safe, and they have the McCree to at least match some of that long-range damage. Flower's gonna have to switch off. This is not going to work.
They made him swap. Pretty sick. Great job. And are you kidding me? He's going for the Bastion.
Okay. You just want to
Right.
burst the shield and set it up. Mono is still hiding on top of that building.
I'm a stealthy ape. I mean scientist.
So here he comes. Now he's going to dive behind while they burst the shield with the Bastion.
Whoa, Mono coming in, gets stunned with the flashbang and taken down. A little bit over-eager. South Korea on the point right now, but they're going to be fighting a 5v6 here. Now it's a 4v6. AKM taking down Flower. Tough times for South Korea. Toby just trying to keep everybody up from behind the bell. Jae-Hong needs a little bit of healing, so he's going to back away here. France seems to be slowly grinding South Korea down, and yeah, they're going to have to back away. Not even getting a tick here on point A yet.
Yeah, and they did switch off the Bastion over to the Genji, so not actually going to commit to that strat. I was too busy watching the positioning of Mono there.
Oh no.
And that is still going to be a failure of an offense. And here we go. It's Reinhardt Bastion time. South Korea mixing it up yet again.
Wow.
Keeping their looks fresh as they make this attack. And there we go. There's the burst down of the shield.
Yep, just taking that out. Very safe position for Flower to be in. That's a little bit less safe, but you get the idea. Let's all try to watch Reinhardt without crying about that cinematic from yesterday.
I'll do my best, Noah.
That's right. It was really dusty in here yesterday. I don't know what it was. They got better filtration today, I guess. Yeah. Well, Flower's still trying to make his way through the choke.
And these Orisa shields have such a short cooldown that this is somewhat of a Sisyphean effort.
I mean, even if you take point A at this point, oh, they're not going to now. He gets stuck.
Great stick there by Soon.
Uh-oh, wow.
That was a nice
clutch shield.
That was a very nice shield flash right there on the right click.
Yeah, kept him safe from the self-destruct. France does have to back away. They've got the Transcendence now to try to keep people up, but they need to move forward, man. They need to do something here.
He's going to try and break that shield from inside.
All right, there you go.
Soon's still alive, though. He does get eliminated by Flower.
Don't underestimate the scout mode, man. Or recon mode.
And here we go. Here comes the tank, but AKM plinking away with that 6-shooter behind the shield. And this is just not going to be effective. Flower gets a little bit of damage down, but with the Mercy still up on France, they're not able to make any of that damage last.
I'm a bit surprised that we're seeing them stick to the Bastion for this long. They only have 30 seconds left. They need to make this work. They snuck Sabiel beyond to the point for just a moment.
A slow rotation around to the point right now. But this is a very good position for them to be. Now they are entrenched on the point, and France is going to have to fight them off.
Yeah, this is where you want to be if you're using that.
Soon got Toby, though. That is huge.
Yeah, Nox over on the Orisa now, too. They need to watch out for that Hulk. Nico brought back up again by Unko, and Jaehong barely alive, 7 HP. He's got to live. If his team, oh, he can't. And France, they're just going to full hold. They will win Hanamura.
Soon played that map very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
The clutch plays onto the Bastion, hits the pulse bomb on the first attack, and then he takes out Toby, which spelled really the end of that assault from South Korea. And they are gonna get a pretty convincing win there on Hanamura.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that was a full hold on point A. You don't see that happen very often. And I mean, yeah, you can say South Korea's comp was a little bit on the odd side, a little bit unorthodox, but France handled it really, really well. We're going to take a quick break again, guys, and when we come back, map number 4, don't miss it.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Welcome back, guys, to the Overwatch World Cup semifinals. France taking a map off of South Korea, and that brings us to our 4th map of this match. It's going to be Gibraltar, and France with a little bit of momentum coming into this one. That was a pretty convincing win on Hanamura, wasn't it?
It was, but now we're back into Gibraltar. This is a map where South Korea was decisive against the USA. And a lot of that was due to Flower's amazing Widowmaker performance, but that was effectively neutralized by France in the last round. And South Korea tried a lot of different strategies, but it's always a balance in Overwatch when you're switching your heroes, because sometimes you have to do it because you need to try something new, surprise your opponent, or you need to have a better composition against theirs. But if you do it too much, you end up resetting your ult economy constantly.
Right.
And if the other team adapts well in terms of their tactics, if they're not changing their composition as we saw France do, it can lead to some pretty big advantages.
So here we go, South Korea in the white on attack, France in the blue on defense. South Korea with a little bit of a dive onto that high pathway, try to force people back, and Jaehong back on his favorite hero, Ana. Seen him do tons of good work with this hero in the past. Had to swap to Zenyatta over the last few months due to a bit of a shift in the meta. Okay, there's your healing. Be happy with it.
And Flower will be playing that Widowmaker. Everybody from France in the server room on the right-hand side of the cart now, so waiting for this payload to reach around the bend here, and then that's where they're going to start popping out. But they're not going to give any Widow angles. Oh, yes, they are.
I guess they are. AKM brought back up again right away, of course, though.
I cast our cursed AKM so hard right there.
You did, man. You did. Thank goodness Mercy can just bring him back up again. And South Korea backing off just a little bit. Jaehong gets a pretty nice biotic grenade in there. And South Korea forcing back into the server room. Nox does go down, and there we go. So France tries to be tricky, and in the end, only kind of end up bottling themselves up and making a shooting gallery for South Korea. That should be a pretty quick point they take.
I mean, that was a crossfire, and Nox decided to poke out and put his shield down to provide cover for AKM. But by doing that, it meant he wasn't going to be able to jump up onto the high ground to deal with Flower. And there we go, the split spawn takes place as some members of France find themselves in the forward spawn room, and they'll get a reward of a few more meters on this payload as a result.
You know, it's times like this in matches too where you need to be really careful if you're playing against South Korea, because this is about where they go Super Saiyan, right, man? I mean, this is where it's like, all right, we're gonna just win now. Because we talked earlier about the beginning of this map, it seems like as a match goes on, the further you get in it, the stronger South Korea looks.
Yeah, and especially when they have their own map selection as well.
Very much. Very true, and they only need to win this one to go to the finals, and that payload getting closer and closer to the end of point B here. France managing to split up South Korea a little bit here. Flower trying to find those picks like we saw him find yesterday, but so far not so good. And he's gonna have to back away.
Finally pushed off that high ground and waiting for his opponents to respawn. But yeah, as you say, Doa, we have seen reverse sweeps at this Overwatch World Cup, but the thing about reverse sweeping in Overwatch is that you have to play on all of your opponent's map selections, which makes it just a big mountain to climb.
Yeah, it's extra hard, extra impressive when it happens. Sableby gets on the payload, gets it moving again, and they've got an eye on where everybody is yet because of that Widowmaker ultimate. Sableby comes back. Fairly quiet overall right now, just a little bit of fire being traded. There's the pulse bomb, no kills from that for Sableby though.
Immediately has to get out due to the Orb of Discord. The tanks have been stuck in this doorway, so Sableby didn't have any cover for this fight. And
whoa, Zumba gets two with his self-destruct though. Can't re-mech again. Nico finds that kill, but that's gonna be the ticket maybe for South Korea to move this payload forward. You'd think. Yeah, Wynn's a little bit on his own right now. I have much respect for Zenyatta, but that's a situation that even the most powerful RoboMonk can't get out of.
There we go. Cleaned up one by one now as finally they push through. And I don't think France is really going to have another opportunity to make a defense here. We'll see how fast they can get back to this card.
You know, the crucial thing is that South Korea was able to get it this far, and they are stalled out a little bit before the payload. Soon taking a nap,
nice
though.
Sleep dart.
Yeah, that's right. Unko taken down as well. There we go, and that should get them to the end of point B. Soon as Nox is taken down. And so, again, you know, if you look up at the ults for South Korea, they're going to have quite a bit available. They move through this phase slower than you normally see teams do it, but they did that because they wanted to save as many ultimates as they could.
And also, it was because they had such a fast early stage, they still end up with nearly 4 minutes remaining.
Oh yeah, they got plenty of time right now.
They are certainly in a good place. AKM is going to take the Widow battle, so here we go.
That is a bold move, man, taking the Widowmaker 1v1 against Flower.
He gets the ult up first, so everybody going to be very scared about peeking around those corners, and that Sableby hitting them with a pulse bomb on the flank. He knew they were cowering due to the Widowmaker ultimate, and so gets them while they're distracted.
That's the scary thing, man. People forget Sableby's lurking back there, and there he is coming around the side. 6-stick onto Unko, and Unko's just going to be like, well, sorry, AKM.
Nothing you can do about that one.
I can't move very quickly. All right, payload has halted. Is South Korea, well, I guess now they're moving again. Setting things up for the last battle against France here. A lot of time remaining. AKM going down very early. Sableby just hunting him down, saying, you're not even going to get that Widow 1v1. Unko does bring AKM back up again, and Jaehong, ooh, that was a close one, man. He managed to avoid that self-destruct,
He thought about being greedy and looking for that scope shot. He decided better of it.
Can't blame the guy. Oh, sleep dart? Nope, not quite. That would have been sick. Flower stays alive right now. Nox just hanging out on top.
They have to get onto this payload, though. It's still moving. Finally, it's contested, but it is at the very end.
Yeah, it's really close. Just under 5 meters remaining. Zunba just got demeched by the pulse bomb.
Both supports of France are dead, though. They have no more healing.
That's a big problem. Nico popped out of the mech, and that may be it. AKM falls immediately on that Sombra, and South Korea finishes Gibraltar with just over 2 minutes in the time bank. Great attack round for them.
Yeah, pretty good time left over. They made things look smooth towards the end after like you said, getting held up for a while.
Yeah, a little bit.
Before point B in that hangar phase, but AKM just not able to do anything from the Widowmaker, and not because he was losing the duel, but because Sabioldi was stuck to him like glue.
There never got to be a duel. He never even got to take a look at Flower on the other side of the map. Sabioldi just kept finding him in the back lines. And so France, with a bit of a mountain to climb, we talked about the reverse sweep. They, of course, have to win that map to keep it going. But they're facing against a team that finished their attack round with 2 minutes to spare. And Gibraltar is one of those maps that you don't see finish quite as much as some other ones.
No, you don't. And looks like we are going to see Flower on that Soldier 76 on the defense.
Okay.
For South Korea, pretty typical, and sometimes we do see Ana if you decide to play very far back and play the high ground right above point A, but this time Jae Hong wants to play a little bit further forward, so I think they will pick the Zenyatta as a result.
This is it, man. This is it for France. This is it for this group of 6 players that have put together such an epic run throughout the early history of Overwatch here. Times change, and as we look towards the Overwatch League, these guys aren't all going to be playing together again really after this match.
And some of them are unfortunately not going to be participating in at least the first part of the Overwatch League.
Yeah.
And it seems a shame. Nox and AKM, certainly skilled players.
Well, all of
these
guys,
as well.
All these guys, absolutely worthy to be on an OWL team. No doubt about that.
It is odd that we only have Unko and Soon.
Yeah.
Competing, but I think with this kind of performance, these guys will find a home in the long run.
I don't think that's going to last forever. Here we go. France on the attack now, trying to equalize South Korea with 3 points on Gibraltar. AKM, they're shoulder pressing.
So AKM come back with the biotic field right now, try and punish the aggression of the tanks, but Sabioldi doing work on the DPS, trying to deal with Soon, and he will. Flower comes from the opposite side with a Helix rocket.
Yeah, that's right. So South Korea holding for the moment. France stalled out already. AKM brought back up again by Unko. And Nox is going to try to come over the top here. Mano has to flee, and he's just trying to get South Korea off the payload. They just want to move it forward a little bit.
Very aggressive defense from South Korea, though, fighting them right outside of the gates, and it is working. Sabioldi doing work, helping to take out AKM one more time, and Mano continuing to pile up the bodies.
Soon on his own in the end. Not able to get a lot done in the back line, and South Korea will continue to hold, and they're starting to build up the ultimates too. Jae Hong and Mano very close to theirs. Flower, Toby, Sabioldi already have them available.
Looking good. So the reset back into some of these high ground rooms, and he's actually going to find Soon there.
Yeah.
Pulse bomb dropped by Soon, but not able to actually hit the monkey.
Wow, Flower comes down. Can't get anything with that tac visor though, but he does have France a little bit flanked here. That's going to be a problem. Transcendence comes out for the side of France just to try to keep people alive as they push the payload forward, but Flower just completely unopposed for the moment in the back lines.
And that, unfortunately for France, that Transcendence didn't do much because of how fast the South Korean team backed out and then waited for it to be over before the re-engage. So Mano still struggling here to push this cart very far.
Mano down to 30 health in that fight before he gets brought back up again. Nox, though, the monkey to fall here as France tries to push this payload forward. South Korea is making them fight for every single inch.
This is not going well for France. They've lost so much time already.
Not a lot, yeah, and only about 1:40 left in the clock for these guys.
It's going to take an offensive reset here for France to even come back.
Yeah.
And they don't have very many tools. AKM on the Widowmaker trying to duplicate some of these performances that we've seen from players like Flower on Gibraltar in this tournament.
All right, France too in this last attack, I mean, they just kept staying in after they really should have fell back and regrouped, and that caused a bit of a split spawn, that caused a bit of a staggering. in when they had everybody available again, cost them even more time, and now they just have 1 minute left to try to finish point A and keep their tournament alive.
And they're pretty far away on some of these ults as well, so they're not going to have the easiest time. You know, do you poke here and try and get your support ults up via the healing? Flower says, no, I am going to tack visor and mow down everybody on Team France.
And Jaehong with 0 deaths on this round so far, goes after Soon, looking for that 1v1. Trying to fight that duel, knows he's probably coming to the stairs. They need him back though.
So here's the tack visor. Flower's just gonna drop down onto the low ground. Finds Wins outside of the Winston bubble, and the Winston bubble dies very quickly to the focus fire, and piling on through and becoming that spear, those blockers that you need to get an efficient ult off. D.Va with the defense matrix protecting the tack visoring Soldier 76.
25 seconds left in the clock. France's tournament on the line. They'd still go to the bronze match, even if they lose this one. And it's kind of starting to look that way as they're down to just their final 10 seconds. South Korea with a lot of ults to work with. Mano comes in. He's got that Primal Rage. AKM already a little bit low here. And this is it, they gotta get on the payload. Flower pops Nico out of the mech to start things off with. There's a Transcendence from France, but they need more. Unko manages to actually kill Flower, and Flower brought back up immediately though. Meanwhile, Mano in the server room, that payload still moving. It's nearly there, and France, are they getting the kills they need? They just might be here.
But here's the tack visor. Flower is back on the high ground. He's gonna de-suit
Nico's out. But they can't do it, and France does take point A. They are still alive.
It's the strafe with that tactical visor, not enough to actually stop them from pushing that cart. And so they use their ultimate. South Korea basically resets everything on their side of the board. But France will have another lease on life here for 2 minutes.
Yep. So now France really needs to rush. They need to get the payload through this phase as fast as they can. Generally, it is pretty quick here, but South Korea knows anytime they can burn off the payload here is really valuable.
Now, they've already done a fantastic job of that, so. Flower, again, just trying to make sure he is the king of the shuttle phase on top of the bridges and getting the proper angles.
Yep.
AKM pressured in the back, will be revived.
Yeah, brought back up again. It's a brawl now. People falling on both sides. AKM taken down again by Sabiel B, who's been so elusive in the back lines. That payload has been stopped hard. Another Transcendence comes out from Wins, though, and it's going to propel them towards a possible point B take. We'll see how long Zunba can delay this here.
Now, Transcendence was forced out by Sabiel B's Pulse Bomb, which is a great trade to make if you are a Tracer player.
Yep.
May not be enough, though, to push them forward. That's a very nice flashbang to stop the monkey.
Yeah, but they only stopped him for just a moment here. AKM, meanwhile, unstopped, up on the high ground, finding targets with that tack visor, but Sabiel comes in again. He has been the bane of AKM all match long, and South Korea slowly pulling ahead in this fight as France once again running out of time.
Toby with the Valkyrie, too. They should be able to outlast with this support ultimate. Zumba going to be remeching pretty soon. Nox will fall, and so will Unko in the back line. So France here has one last attack on point B. They have to make it work soon. Needs to find somebody with this pulse bomb. Sabiel be in a similar position. Who's going to have the better bomb here? It might determine who's going to win this fight.
It's one pulse bomb to one pulse bomb. Soon trying to be sneaky. There's a duel. Whoever wins this could win it for their team. Soon grabs the health pack, make sure it's not available. Waiting for Sabiel B to come back. South Korea in position. They're going to send the monkey up there.
That was eaten.
They're going to send the tanks up there. That's right. The pulse bomb did nothing for Soon. South Korea, meanwhile, Sabiel B still has his, but the payload is moving. South Korea's got to get back on here too, but Soon gets a couple, and he's escorting the payload. He's doing it all right now, and South Korea can't stop him.
Of this tournament sneaks his way around after his pulse bomb gets eaten by the Zunba defense matrix, and he realizes he can't kill these tanks, so instead he just zips over to the objective and forces the South Korean re-engagement. Beautiful decision-making by Soon.
No kidding. Single-handedly keeping France alive here in this match. And now he's back at it, getting in the back lines again, being annoying, and always being there to sneak that payload if he needs to. Apparently it's high noon. Flower looking for targets with the dead eye. Self-destruct does catch AKM. We'll see if they bring him back. They can. Soon taken down by Nico though. Unko coming back in pretty far away from the ultimate, now far away from the fight as he's taken down. South Korea pulling ahead yet again here. Nox falls, and we're down to another 30-second scenario for France.
They do have some stalling power though, Doa. They have the primal ridge, so they might be able to push this cart a little bit further. They've got control over it right now.
Oh, they need to push that thing. They need to get back on that court. They cannot. Oh, pulse bomb onto Flower. Soon finds a big pick here, and the payload is still moving, 15%. And South Korea, they've got the primal rage, but this is it. They need to stop France here.
Yes, they do. So everybody recollecting now from South Korea. They have a Winston shield to play behind and work with to at least get out of the spawn doors. Flower now on the Reaper.
Here comes the self-destruct. Flower waits it out, gets around the corner just in time. AKM rockets down Zunba, and South Korea, they've got the respawns, but they're being forced away. Sabielby takes out AKM with
There's
the pulse
res
bomb.
onto Flower.
Yeah, Toby trying to keep people alive as much as he can anyway. Nico demeched, and France in some trouble. Here comes the Transcendence from Jaehong. South Korea standing strong for the moment. They've got both support ultimates going. There's the self-destruct coming in now from Zunba, and Flower takes down Wins. That is a big kill to get rid of that support. OT ticking away, and AKM on his own, taken down, and that could be it. South Korea will go to the grand finals.
And they will have a shot, Doa, at another gold medal in the Overwatch World Cup this year. And France still can play for that bronze medal in the match and have a chance to redeem themselves from this one and really prove that they are a fantastic team, and they have been all year.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, all of those players really deserving of being in all teams. I'm sure we're going to see them again here. We're going to see them again in the Browns match very soon. We're going to throw it to a quick break, guys, and when we come back, the desk will break down that epic semifinal match. Don't go anywhere.
BlizzCon 2017 is brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
with you today. So first of all, I'm on the environment art team. We focus on all the natural elements of the world. That means we make trees, plants, rocks, everything from blades of grass to clouds in the sky is art that's made by our team. We work really closely with our level design team. They take the art that we create and build the world with it. So one of the more environment-focused zones that we worked on this expansion is Nazmir, which is on the continent of Zandalar. Nazmir is filled with Zandalari troll ruins and the growing empire of those blood trolls whom you saw earlier. The Zandalari abandoned the area due to the rampant use of blood magic that was starting to spread through their society. With the environment, we wanted to capture an overgrown, primeval feel, something from a lost world. When developing Nazmir, we wanted to create an experience where the player goes in and out of these light and dark spaces as they quest through the zone. So we created two main biomes.